Hi. Um, Today I decided to vamp it up a little. I don't know if you can see because my light just so bright. But I paled myself up a bit and gave myself a little bit of blood because I think this might be the last run through of things because we're maybe 2 hours away from the end. It's a bit better. We're maybe 2 hours away from the end, so I think there's quite a fair bit we could do. So this is our stalker. So these three are side quests. Let's do this one, and we can do this one quickly. Streetlights filter into the apartment with a stark white glow as if someone was shooting a movie outside. The art pieces display a tasteful expense entirely fitting the image you have of Sophie. It feels as if 1,000 sins have been committed on these premises, most of them under her benevolent hospitality. Sophie comes to greet you as you enter the living room, shaking her head. You understand that people judge me based on how you dress, don't you? Sophie looks at your clothes as if resigned to your sartorial limitations. Inconspicuously. I've tried to dress inconspicuously because of Masquerade. That's very sensible of you. I suppose I should commend you for that. Sophie walks to the window and looks out, the streetlights playing on her features. She reminds you of a queen contemplating the unfortunate limitations of her subject. You'd think that, as a vampire, at least we wouldn't have to worry about the vultures of the press. Unfortunately, when you have power and ability, there are always parasites trying to feed on you. I used to have a journalist friend. And you know what they're like. Sophie steps away from the window and settles down on a sofa, a wine glass with red liquid in, blood treated as not to spoil. You've become good at noticing the scent, even from a distance. She doesn't offer you any as you cautiously sit down across from her. This awful man has been stalking my apartment with a camera. He's gone through my trash, talked to the neighbours. Please be a dear and explain to him that there's nothing for him here. Or specs. I'm not an errand boy. This is Masquerade. Or specs. You're enjoying this. Let's try that. You're enjoying this, aren't you? I can see it in your face. Nonsense. Some rancid beast is stalking me, that's all. It's just that the secrecy of the masqueraders bore, sometimes a necessary bore, but a bore nonetheless. Isn't this dangerous? Roll, kindred? Of course it is, if we don't make it go away. Do I get something out of this? Does not sound good. Do you know anything about the reporter? Man, woman, young, old, anything like that? All gossip reporters look the same to me. Time for you to go. I have business to attend to. Lovely. You leave the apartment as Sophie disappears into another room. You don't have a clear idea of the game she plays with the city's mortal and immortal power structures, but she always seems to be making a move. Outside on the street there's a slight warm drizzle, the kind that gets under your clothes and makes you want to take a shower when you get back to your own haven. No reporters immediately jump out to you. Yeah, let's do that. New York smells of people, thousands and thousands of them packed together. It takes a moment for you to get to grips with the full panoply of sensation, but once you do, there's one that sticks out. Cheap aftershave, the strong imprint of someone who has hung around the building a lot. Strong enough to persist despite the light rain. Stale cigarette, smoke, sweat. You follow your hunch, and as you walk closer, you reflect on how sometimes being kindred makes things so easy. You enter an alley, a dark, dingy space between two tall buildings. Once upon a time, a place like this might have worried you, made you think of muggings and violence. Now it's clear that the most dangerous thing here is you. The man you are following seems to realize this too. He holds his camera in front of him like a shield. It's heavy. Its heavy objective resting on his paunch. With a start, you recognize him. You remember the face, the shaded sunglasses from a picture next to a byline in some trashy paper. The article was about a friend of yours, an artist who was reported to be dating a celebrity. It was true, but the celebrity didn't want to be associated with your friend and broke it off afterwards. For months your friend cursed Doherty's name. Hey, don't go around scaring people like that. I recognize you. You're Frank Doherty. I recognize you from that thing. You're a fake reporter, right? I'm a real reporter, damn it. Lots of scoops here in this dirty alley. You can't be a journalist if you're not willing to get your hands dirty. Do Do you live here? I'm working on a story about a local resident. Her name is Sophie Langley. Everybody knows her in high society circles. From the way you look, I'm guessing you might know her too. She's a redhead, pretty as a picture, and there were a lot of pictures of her through the years. That's the thing, in fact. Look at this. Frank pulls out his phone and starts showing you pictures. Some have been downloaded from news sites, while others are photos from the society pages of newspapers from past decades. Also Sophie. She has different clothes, hairstyles, makeup, names, but the face remains the same. So you're a stalker? Come on, I'm just doing my job. You must have a theory on what's happening. I have a theory or two, but before I print my theory, I need facts to back it up. So your head's extreme plastic surgery. All celebrities do it. Only head doctor is better than the rest. You look critically at the photos on Frank's phone. You're looking for the world's best plastic surgeon in an alleyway? Okay, fine, I don't know what this is about. So how would you explain it? It's a hoax. I know Sophie personally. Ancient medicines. It's a hoax. Have you considered the possibility those pictures are a hoax? Sure, anything can be a hoax, but I dug up those old newspaper from the archives myself. I got to have something usable. Threaten him with legal action. Frank, I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to give you something you can work with. Take it. Frank is clearly taken back by the change in your tone, but he's a gossip reporter. He's used to people trying to push him. Look, I'm a reporter. You can bluster, but you can't hide the truth. Can you afford a lawsuit? We'll initiate legal proceedings against your newspaper for harassment. You only have a job because somebody at your paper feels sorry for you. Do you think they'll keep you on once you become a liability? I know that. You don't have to rub it in my face. Rub my face in it, asshole. We can destroy you. We can destroy your life, Frank. What's left of it. Frank is taken back by the brutality of your tone. He has been intimidated many times before, but he also knows that sometimes the threats are real. This time, he senses you're not kidding. He's just an aging man trying to salvage a career. You win. I hope you and Sophie Langley have a happy life. Deflated and hunched over, Frank drudges away from the alley. You stare at his receding figure. It's hard to not feel sorry for him. In Sophie Langley, he took on something way too powerful for a small fish like himself. So we should get to midnight. Yeah. Well, I say midnight, but like middle of the night is what I mean. So this one's quite interesting. Let's go. This is the invitation we got slipped under our door. You haven't been to a church since you became a vampire, or kindred, as the euphemism goes. You've had to focus on concrete, practical things like survival and feeding. You've learned the essentials of the vampire experience, but you don't really have a clear idea of what it all means. The Cathedral of St. John the Divine is a New York landmark. You've been inside once before when you were much younger. You marveled at its gothic facade. Looking at it now from across the street, it feels ominous. The prospect of an anonymous invitation to a secret meeting is a worrying one, but the venue is well chosen. It's hard to imagine a violent attack in a place like this, with eyes everywhere. You enter the cathedral discreetly. You've quickly learned this is an essential skill for a vampire, how to move without anyone noticing you. The full force of the cathedral's architecture hits you as you walk between the pews. If the architect meant to create the feeling of being small in the face of God's glory, mission accomplished. Based on the note, you're assuming that whoever you're meeting is somewhere in the front. As you step closer to the high altar, it feels as if something is dragging at your feet, as if the stone beneath you resisted your movement. Religion is superstition. Vampires are satanic creatures. Does God still listen to you? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Superstition we'll go with. Religion is superstition. It must be your nerves. As you try to shake the feeling of crushing foreboding, it occurs to you that vampires are a superstition too. There's an old man sitting in the front. You see only the back of his head, bowed in silent prayer. Your footsteps echo on the floor, and he turns to look at you. You can't take your eyes off him. He's tall, dignified, white hair, balding, a few strands escaping to the sides. He's wearing glasses and simple clerical clothing. His eyes are warm and pale, too kind for someone like you. Something is wrong. You feel heavy, as if a giant hand was pressing you down. The skin on your face is burning. Perhaps unconsciously you expect something like this, as a vampire walking into a cathedral. Only it's not the building, or God, making you feel like you're burning alive. It's the man, the priest. Welcome, my child. The priest's tone is kind, but the panic rising inside is telling you that kindness is not for the likes of you. Confront? Last time I ran, but let's confront. The only way to understand these painful feelings is to push forward and confront the priest. As you step close to the priest, panic rises in you. The emotions are hard to control. Fear, anger, pain, all trying to wrestle you in different directions away. Can I help you? Are you okay? The priest talks to you like he would a lost vagrant who has chosen to enter the house of God. Please, it hurts. Sit down and tell me what's wrong. It's simply too much. You mutter something incoherent in reply. You don't sound like a vampire, an undead being made powerful by immortal blood. You're just another sad, confused, lost soul. You turn around and stagger away, only feeling like yourself once you're back in the street outside. You stand on the sidewalk, confused and scared. No enemies seem to be attacking you. The priest didn't follow you. The night air is wet and with the smells of the city, the same as every night. How did it feel? You look at the man speaking to you. He's well dressed, if a little archaic. Dark hair, handsome, like a character from an old movie. He smiles as if he knows something you don't. You glance around. There are people in the street. You don't appear to be in immediate danger. Who the fuck are you? Please calm down, I'm not your enemy. I'll introduce myself. My name is Benoit Segal. We share many things in common, even if you don't know me. Benoit offers his hand to you. Shake hands and use senses. Benoit is a vampire, that much is clear. He is using his blood to simulate the functions of a living body, but the rhythm of his heartbeat reveals its artificial nature. Would you mind sitting with me for a moment? Benoit points to a park bench nearby, in darkness because of a broken streetlight. Wary, you decide to follow him. Only an enemy totally unconcerned with Masquerade would attack you here. Benoit sits down and you follow suit. For a moment, you both contemplate the cathedral in silence. Know how it feels? What you just felt? I have experienced it myself, many times. For a moment, you consider how to respond. It's clear Benoit sent the invitation to come here and orchestrated this little setup. What's the point? Why did you go to the trouble of getting me here? We share a connection, you and I. I'll explain it later. But right now, the important thing is that it's so much easier to show than to tell. I wanted you to meet Father Anthony, or see him, experience him. Did you wonder why it felt like that? It was the priest. At first I thought it was because I was in a church, but then I realized it came from him, the priest. I think you're right, it does come from him. It's his faith that makes you feel like that. You're safe in his belief while you are one of the damned. Do you ever wonder what the role of a vampire in God's creation? You stop to think, of course you've wondered, what this is all about. Whether it's about God or nature, you don't really know what being a vampire means. That's the trouble with the Masquerade. A human faced with a human problem can go online and find something that helps. You can't. Masquerade means that everything there is to know about your condition is secret, hidden away. You're left relying on the unreliable opinions of people like Benoit. Suddenly, Benoit takes your hand and presses it against his chest. As he stares into your eyes, you feel his heart stop. My heart no longer beats, yet I move, I talk. Is that how God intended us to be? There's a natural explanation. Whoa, I don't believe in the supernatural. There's a natural explanation for all this. We just don't know it. Maybe there is. I don't know either. But I know that Father Anthony's faith is real. Sometimes I'm skeptical too. But in Father Anthony's presence, I know faith is real. I know it because it hurts so much. But perhaps you have questions about faith and our kind? How do you know any of these stories are true? I don't. How could I know? That is what faith is. You have to believe in something. Good and evil, right and wrong, love and hate. I believe we are damned. I also believe that there is always hope. Grace. Father Anthony's faith shows me the way. It's so easy for us to lose ourselves as a morass of occult speculation. It's so easy for us to lose ourselves in a morass of occult speculation. Some of our kind revere Cain, others Lilith. Many in the Camarilla place their faith in the invisible guidance of the Methuselahs, who are supposed to watch over us. Yet I wonder how much that really matters when compared to the character of a good man. Did you really have anything else, or did I come here just to talk about religion? I know it's overwhelming. It was for me when I first met Father Anthony. I know there are others like him, whose faith shines like a beacon. Priests, old ladies, children. Anyone can have that conviction inside them. This is too much. You expect me to go along with all of this insanity? Benoit nods patiently. Let's meet again in a few nights, here at the cathedral. We can talk more after we've thought it through. You leave Benoit sitting in the shadow of the cathedral, contemplating what lies within. It would be easier to ignore his words, without the reality of what you experienced. Father Anthony was holy. You know it to be true. But what does that mean? So we can't do any of these now because we need to rest. So, let's rest! I washed my face and I tried to Google Translate how to say his name. So if he's Arabic, which he could be, this is what it sounds like.
قادر على الأسمع.
Qadir al-Asma. Or German.
قادر على الأعزمي.
Qadir al-Azmi. So I put detect language, and it detected Arabic and translated it into German. I don't know why. So this is the English version.
قادر على الأسامي.
Qadir al-Asami.
قادر على الأسمع.
Qadir al-Asma. So, Qadir, I was right, but I think I was saying Qadir. Qadir al-Asma, the sheriff of New York City, is knocking at the door to your haven. The sight comes as more than a little shocking. If he had business with you, you'd either expect to see him already inside, or never see him coming at all. Yet there he is on the other side of the peephole, patiently and politely waiting for you to let him in. You carefully unlock the door and face him in silence. Evening, may I come in? You simply stare at him. Your lack of an answer doesn't faze him, and your lack of resistance as he starts walking inside has obviously been interpreted as permission. Once inside, he starts looking around as you cautiously stay by the door. Haven't really had time to make this place your own yet, have you? It feels like Langley's apartment through and through, a secluded study where nobody studies anything. Look at the books on this shelf, obviously meant to impress guests, not to be read. They reveal nothing about their owner, aside from the aching desire to be taken seriously as an intellectual. He picks one of them up and smirks before putting it away. The phenomenology of spirit, next to all of this garbage poetry. We can make a bet. If she's read more than 20 pages, I owe you $50 and a gallon of blood. The kind of place that self-professed hermits entomb themselves in to suffer. Considering how much you have to run around these nights, you probably only use it to shelter from the sun and rest, right? Even though he's obviously making an effort to come off as non-threatening, it's impossible to forget the first impression he made. You still see him as a fierce predator, trying hard not to expose his true colours. You sense familiar fight or flight responses. You struggle to find a diplomatic answer to his last question. If Kadir is bothered by your silence, he doesn't let it show. He keeps walking around, toying with whatever catches his eye. Eventually, he speaks up again. Watch any baseball lately? If I had to guess, you strike me as a Red Sox fan. Now he's inviting you to talk in a more direct manner. You attempt to overcome your physical reaction to him and reply as casually as you can. Ellipsis? Your mind keeps going back to the night when everything was changed forever. Waking up in hell with a body next to you, spending a night in that underground sweatbox unsure of what will happen next. That endless car ride, 3 strikes, a bloodthirsty crowd, that blade. A rebirth, a baptism by fire, a frightening executioner who made sure the flames scarred your spirit. As you look into his face, you realise he's read the emotions from yours. Not in the mood to exchange pleasantries, There's no animosity in his voice. He's just stating a fact. Let me get straight to the point then. His hair length is the same length as mine, and he pulls it off so much better. He momentarily stops caring about his surroundings, turning all of his attention to you, and demanding the entirety of your attention in return. You see, there's something I realised over the years, in large part. I may have been hired just to look menacing with a sword, but my job is all about seeing through bonds and relationships. The Camarilla would be safe as long as its members adhered to certain social contracts, making their dealings and affinities plain for everyone to see, but that obviously remains a pipe dream. This is a community of born conspirators, overly ambitious gangsters and politicians, monsters in denial, all sorts of tragically broken individuals. They're driven by desires that make them incompatible with the Masquerade, incompatible with prolonged survival of the Camarilla, incompatible with the methods I use to operate. And so I am doomed to be like a cop, constantly insulted behind my back, maybe for a good reason, but immediately called for help whenever someone loses their tableware. Oh, guy. Or like an Agatha Christie protagonist, outwardly assisted by everyone but constantly lied to about everyone's pasts and motivations, even if my failure to solve the mystery might be the end of us all. He tries to sound like he's peacefully resigned to his fate, but it's easy to detect a tinge of regret in his voice, a voice belonging to someone who once had bigger ambitions than this. What broke him? So you see, for this detective, the why done it is far more important than who done it or how done it. When you understand all the players and their mutual obligations, you easily understand every crime. But of course the kindred know it, so they devise ways to make my job much harder, just like conspiracies between 2 unrelated actors that depend on scratching each other's backs for mutual security. Or they enforce a blood bond to make someone unexpected their thrall, a boss serving their employee, a rebel serving a tyrant, just because one is regularly being forced to drink another's blood. So in the original tabletop game, you can be bloodbound up to 5 dots. So 1 dot of blood, you can easily stop being bloodbound if you spend like an amount of time away from the person. But that like their blood, basically being bloodbound to someone means that they have a big influence over you, so they can pull you by this blood bond that you've got. And if you want to keep someone completely enthralled, then you regularly feed it to them so that the blood bond can't dissolve. What has Sophie seen in you? Why does the prince keep asking me about your actions? How come you're being pushed to build your own coterie so fast? You are surrounded by unclear motivations, which you yourself don't understand. That unnerves me, and it should unnerve you as well. What are your motivations? Oh, and what are your motivations? Finally, you managed to raise your voice. Kadir notices the effort and smiles softly. So you haven't gone mute since the last time I saw you? Good. Well, I'm here for a selfish reason. I need to develop a rapport with you to better fulfill my obligations. The last time we met, I couldn't see you as my equal. Now that you've been accepted into the Camarilla, what choice do I have? I'd understand if you didn't want to see my face again, but I'm one of the faces of the New York City community, and as long as you're part of it, it's going to be impossible to avoid me. especially when I have business with you, and I do. As you might have guessed by now, one of my tasks is uncovering and understanding your bonds, and one of them might endanger our community. Well, that's not menacing at all. Who is he talking about? Someone from my coterie? You mean someone I'm trying to recruit into my coterie? Kadir shakes his head. I'm monitoring them and they know it. If they're breaking the rules, they're doing it the right way, meaning I haven't learned about it yet. Unless you might want to share something. A moment of awkward silence. Joking, mostly. He produces a file from underneath his coat and passes it to you. This is our troublemaker. You open the file and see some printed photos. You freeze up as you recognize the face and are overwhelmed by a flood of repressed memories. Emma. Emma. The only person who kept you hanging on through all these years. The only person you have in your corner in your never-ending fight against the world. So when I played it as a Ventru, the person who was the troublemaker was your boss. He'd been doing some dodgy deals with shifting money about, and he basically blamed it on you. So police and stuff will be out looking for you because they think you're an embezzler. So you had to, for the Masquerade, go and sort things out. The only person who's kept you hanging on through all these years, the only person you have in your corner in your never-ending fight against the world. You've kept your shit together so far, tried not to think about her until you got everything sorted out, but seeing her face brings a lump to your throat. You look up at Kadir, expecting answers. I'll be frank, at first I thought you were a total commercial failure, someone destined to eventually disappear from the streets of New York without a trace or one soul to care. But it looks like your sister is the best guardian one could ask for. Lots of friends in high places and lots of favors to collect. The word is she'll do anything to get you back. The risk of endangering us is relatively low, but far from non-existent, which means your sister must be stopped. So that looks like it's supposed to be dialogue for Kadir to be saying, but it's coming as a background description element. Must be stopped sounds threatening. You dread thinking what he's planning. I'll arrange for you two to meet tomorrow so that you can straighten the situation out and say goodbye to the life you've forsaken. You'll arrange what? Your eyes must look like saucers right now. Usually these matters are left to my discretion, and I can't think of an easier solution. The lost sheep reappears, takes care of unfinished business and disappears, never to be seen again. Nobody cares. It's simple, it's clean, no contrived schemes, no unnecessary victims. And it gives me an opportunity to learn more about you, as I observe when neonates interact with kind they used to hold dear, their true natures are laid bare for everyone to see. Of course, he's invested in being kind to you, or he's making clear his self-serving intentions so that you don't start figuring them out yourself. Any objections? Any alternatives are probably worse. You shake your head. Very well. I'll arrange a meeting and drive you there tomorrow. Better come up with a load of bull that's easy to swallow. He disappears from the apartment, leaving you as confused as the last time he closed the door on you. God damn it, you need to think it through. For a long time you just sit in your haven lost in your thoughts, trying to come up with lies that will convince the only person who's ever seen the real you. Is it bedtime? No. So we can go and talk about faith and stuff again, or we can check out the somebody's watching me. Someone is following you around. Has been for a few nights, maybe longer. That can't be a good thing. The only question is what to do about it. Okay. Telling Sophie versus provoking them. Because if it's a human and I tell Sophie, provoke the stalker to appear. You venture out into the street with the goal of letting your stalker know you're aware of being followed. It's time to stop this ridiculous charade. It's raining outside, and as you step onto the street in front of your haven, you wonder whether that'll help you. Will you be able to see the footprints of your stalker in puddles on the ground? Not sure where to start, you slip a few bills to a homeless man and chat up the guy who runs the local bodega. Both of them talk your ear off about strange characters hanging around, but none of their stories seem right to you. Walking the streets, you're convinced by turns that everyone you see is an enemy agent out to get you. that your stalker has decided to take the night off. Frustrated after a couple of hours of useless searching, you cross the road without looking where you're going. A courier on a motorbike zooms towards you and has no time to brake or swerve as you suddenly step in front of him. For a split second, your eyes meet those of the man on the bike, and you both know you'll collide. You'll get hit. Something hits you, pushing you forward. You tumble, flying to the sidewalk as the courier zooms past. You feel a weight on your back, catch a glimpse of something, a person, female you think, and then she disappears. You could spend a couple more hours trying to find the woman who's been stalking you, but in your shriveled, undead heart, you know it to be futile. She's gone. Time to rest. And then the sheriff's gonna turn up and take us to our sister. Knock knock. You'd ask who's there, but you don't know if the sheriff of New York would play along. When you open the door, you see him toying with the car keys he's holding in his hand. Ready to go, fledgling? You don't feel like it, but you give him a nod nevertheless. Excellent, stay close. He leads you down to the vehicle he's parked nearby. Once again, he takes the wheel literally and figuratively. Everything inside is just the way you remember it, down to the rear view mirror reflecting the intense stare of your guide. However, the trip itself feels notably different. The last time Kadir drove you around, he was forcibly dragging you away from your old life. This time, he's pulling you back into it. Let me tell you how it's going to go. As I said, I've arranged a meeting between you and your kin. It's going to take place somewhere you should know very well. I'll watch over you two from a safe distance to make sure you adhere to the rules. You should know those very well. But I'll reiterate, just so you can't ever say I didn't warn you. Don't do anything that would violate the Masquerade. Don't establish some secret routes of contact. I will know. Do treat this as the last time you two will meet. Take this chance to wrap everything up. Here's your story. You're fine. Found yourself at a crossroads. Decided to radically change your life and move out of the city. The subway is unbearable. The rent is too high. They've heard it all. However, you wouldn't leave for good without saying farewell to the only person who cared. He gives you a compassionate stare. It's going to leave a scar, boy, but a true artist knows those are not something to hide, but to display with pride. You're a fresh corpse. People you meet can still leave a mark on you. One night, a long time from now, you'll realize you miss collecting new wounds. The car makes a sudden turn. I'll leave the finer details to you. Just be so kind and don't make me regret it. You can sense he's going out of his way for you, but doesn't try to force you into gratitude by stating it plainly. If you know, you know. He'll see if you are worthy of his aid. We're here. You take a look around and recognize your destination. He was right. It's a familiar place. It's right next to that exhibitionist space, the one where you met your future sire. This is where you saw Emma for the last time. This is where they last saw Paul Lamar. Who knows whatever might have happened to him. That's what your sister is trying to find out. I took the liberty of messaging her in your stead. She's up there waiting for you to come and explain yourself. He turns off the engine and relaxes comfortably in his seat. You silently leave the car and head straight for the exhibition space. The elevator ride up just doesn't seem to end. After what feels like 5 hours, but in reality is closer to 30 seconds, you finally reach your floor. So, before we start talking here, I just want to point out, I'm pretty sure in the storyline, it said that Emma and Lamar didn't meet up often. I'm pretty sure it said that every time they do meet up, they get along fine as if they've never been apart, but that they don't see each other often. So I don't know why she's put this alert out unless she's been trying to get in contact with us. And we've not been responding. But even then, Kadir's got the phone, so he said he's been sent her a message and stuff, so wouldn't he respond to stop her from getting suspicious? Emma's standing there looking at the paintings. She's trying to act carefree, but is holding onto her bag a little too tightly. When she hears your footsteps, she's startled. Then she sees you, and her eyes immediately fill with tears. She runs up to you and gives you a hearty hug. God damn it, Lamar. God damn it. You've stayed in her arms silent for a little while. Bonds of blood run deep. This feels right. You're so cold. What happened to you? You look into her eyes and start searching your heart for a lie that would satisfy her. Only a little bit. I decided on a soul-searching trip. So, I suddenly decided to do a little travelling, you know. See the world. Figure out all those things inside my head. You stop mid-sentence. It's perfectly obvious that you're not exactly telling the truth, and her expression makes it obvious that she knows. What happened? Lamar, speak to me. After the life-saving work she sent your way, from that concept artist job to this exhibition, I've been losing my mind. Talk to literally everyone I know to ask when the last time they saw you was. All the time she helped you get your shit together. I've always been honest with you. The least you can do is return the favour. She has, and she absolutely deserves to know, but she can't. Kadir is waiting downstairs. Lamar. Her voice startles you. Your first instinct is to run. And like the beast you've become, you trust it. Lamar, you can't do this. Not now, not like this. She watches as you, kindred and undying creature of the night, zoom away from her, run into the elevator and press the ground floor button. This might be the last time you ever see each other. At least look her in the eye and force yourself to tell her one last thing. Don't search for me. Ah, fuck. Don't search for me, for your and my own good. She's too stunned to react as the elevator doors close. You slide down the wall, hiding your face in your arms. You find your own priorities disgusting. But what gets you down the most is the fact that you failed to give closure to the only person you cared about. I selected the wrong fucking option. I should have just said I love you. It's more that you've failed to make this farewell beautiful. It makes you feel like a failure of an artist. Even with all this profound, newfound power, you still can't express yourself through the canvas of your life. You're still stuck in your old ways. But you know, she'll take the pain you've caused her and use it to make art that resonates, that sells. What if authentic trauma is the best gift you could find to repay all her generosity? Jesus Christ, you're disgusting. If you consider all those emotions commodities, no wonder you're a failure as an artist. The elevator doors open. Better run while she's still up there. Back to Kadir's car. Once you close the door, he instantly puts his foot on the gas pedal. Walking off the pitch with no regrets, said everything you had to say. Kadir sighs. Yeah, that's what I gathered from here. I'll keep an eye on the situation, placate her somehow if she won't stop looking. We've got some well-tested methods, non-violent of course. He gives you a good stare via the rearview mirror. You're an artist, aren't you? You nod half-heartedly. So you of all people should know that things never work out the way you plan. There could always be more time to plan tools that would help you execute it better. Perfection is just an accident. The only thing you can do is give it your best shot given the circumstances and immediately move on to the next thing. Then, when all is said and done, regret is nothing but narcissism and a waste of time. So for your coterie, those are the materials you've been given, and they're potent ones. Make the best use of them, so that they might create something more beautiful than your artist tools ever did. And as a side note, I envy you. I wish I still had someone to make my knees feel like jelly. Even when you can't see them anymore, just knowing that they're keeps you in touch with what you once were. The car speeds up to cross an intersection before the light turns red. You give Kadir a good hard look. Why are you not mean to me? Who are you and what have you done with Kadir al-Asmai? At first he seems confused about the question, but after a while he gets it and chuckles softly. Then he takes on a seriously, slightly sorrowful expression. Don't suck up to me, kid. Mr. Bad Guy is still here, and without a doubt he will go back to decapitating suckers like you any time now. The car starts slowing down. We're here. You look out the window and see your haven. Take care. I'll see you around. Just pray I don't have to see you too often. You leave the car and start walking to your haven, thinking about Kadir. Can't say you're fond of him, what with the welcome he gave you and all, but after tonight you can't say you aren't either. You're going to need some more time to understand him, that's for sure. So we can still do something. We need to eat, and we can eat this guy, so we're going to do this. You've taken care of Frank Doherty, but apparently there's someone still staking out Sophie's apartment. He's not that stupid, is he? The weather is cold and windy as you walk to Sophie's apartment as a vampire. That doesn't matter anymore. You may have been saddled with eternal hunger, but at least you can ignore the wind chill. Just as you come to the door of Sophie's building, she storms out, murmuring in her phone. Yes, I know, don't worry, I trust you to handle it. You've heard Sophie talk to her associates before. It's always the same. Generalities and vague suggestions. It makes you think she's involved in mysterious machinations, yet doesn't tell you anything. Sophie is dressed to kill, but there's nothing unusual in that. She likes to make an impression. A black car with tinted windows is waiting for her in front of the door. A chauffeur steps out to open the car door for her. Sophie notices you. I'm glad you're in the neighbourhood. If you could look around for me one more time, that would be wonderful. You told me that you'd gotten rid of that reporter. Turns out he's still here, snooping around. Sophie is very good at communicating disappointment. She doesn't have to do much to make it clear that she's unhappy to have to return to this issue. I'll take care of it. After tonight, he won't trouble you anymore. Good, don't disappoint me. The reporter talked his way into the building during the day. Once the doorman understood what was happening, he threw the reporter out. He showed old pictures of me to my neighbours. It's very awkward, you understand. Sophie disappears into the car, and the chauffeur closes the door behind her. You watch as the sleek vehicle disappears into the Manhattan traffic. Just one anonymous car among many. Best sit down somewhere and devise a plan of action. You go to a nearby diner, settle into a booth, and order a coffee from the steely-eyed Latina waitress. As she brings you your cup, you describe Frank Doherty to her on the off chance she's seen something. Just as you're about to answer, you happen to look outside. Something catches your eye. The diner is brightly lit, so you lean close to the window to see the street through it. You got lucky. Frank is standing on the sidewalk on the other side of the street, looking at something on his phone. You slide out of the booth, throwing a few small bills on the table, mumbling something to the waitress. You step outside. Follow him covertly. For a reporter, Frank isn't terribly observant. You keep your distance, hiding behind people and cars, but he doesn't look around. It seems like he wants to find a private nook to inspect the photos he took tonight. An alley he ducks in and you follow. Oh God, it's you again. Please, I'm working on a different story, I swear. Frank retreats deeper into the alley. And, it's fine, Frank. Maybe we got off on the wrong foot last time. Yes. Frank appears relieved and even smiles a little. Okay, I'm sorry I tried to bullshit you. Just tell me how I can help you. Why are you here? You're sneaking around with a camera again. Why? I'm a reporter. I report. That's just my job. Look, I don't want any trouble. I can see that you're serious. There is something to Sophie Langley. I think you know what it is. Take a long, hard look at Frank Doherty. He's a tenacious man, but not brave. After last time you met, you were sure he had been dealt with. Where did he find the courage to come here again? Is this worth the pain? A woman like Sophie, there's always something, but is it worth the pain? Look, I need a scoop, I need a story, I need something that says Frank Doherty's on top of things again. Nobody respects me. Do you know how that feels? I used to be someone, a promising young journalist. When you fuck up, there's no sympathy. People enjoy seeing you fall. I don't care about Sophie Langley, I care about Frank Doherty. I'm not asking for much. Just one story that isn't about trying to get a shot of a celebrity's underwear. You almost believe it, but something about Frank feels off. Personal interest. Is this about blackmail? Yeah, do you have personal interest in Sophie Langley, Frank? What? No. Or, I mean, she's a very attractive woman, but I make it a rule never to get involved with people I write about. That must require real effort to escape all those beautiful ladies who want what you have. Hey, no reason to be mean. Sometimes I just need extra money, that's all. Where does this extra money come from? There's a guy, he's paying me, that's all, but I can't talk about that. Drink Frank dry. It doesn't feel like you can get anything more out of him. Or perhaps that's just something you tell yourself because you see the sweet, sweet blood moving under his skin. It's hard not to stare. Frank is not a beautiful man, but you've learned that any mortal's veins can be appreciated if you look at them long enough. Blood is the great equalizer. Young or old, rich or poor, they all serve as sustenance to you. You decide to give up on Frank. If you drink him dry, he won't come back again. Make it a pleasant death. His sustenance, nothing more, hurt him. Make it a pleasant death. You're going to like Frank, despite everything. You want to make his last moments pleasant. Close your eyes, I'll make you feel good. Frank doesn't have time to react before you take him into your arms and gently bite down on his neck. The bliss of your white bite overwhelms him and he moans in helpless desire. It's difficult to say whether Frank realizes you're killing him. He struggles weakly, but that could just be from the sensations your bite gives him. By the time life is really leaving his body, he can't do much more than lean on you. You've come to learn that all mortals taste a little different, the traces of their life showing in the blood in their veins, their emotions pushed through, making each feeling different. It's a question of taste whether you prefer your prey scared or aroused. You drink your fill as Frank goes weak in your arms, falling down, his body lifeless. There is a richness to his blood that you appreciate. You've already learned that it's a mistake to judge the quality of blood based on the mortal's looks, and Frank certainly shows that to be true. There's a dumpster in the alley. Straining a little, you haul Frank's body into it. You tear at his clothes and take his wallet to make it look like a mugging gone wrong. Not long ago, doing something like this would have been inconceivable. Now, it's just feeding. So, if you follow the Frank storyline all the way to the end, he meets you in the hotel room, or the hotel lobby that you were reborn in as a Bruja, and it's teeming with SI agents, who are the loads of agents who treating vampires as a terrorist organization. So you have to fight your way out or get killed there. But you can't deal with Frank after that point. He's at the bar drinking, and then SI come in, and you have to make a run for it. So you can't give him his comeuppance. And I just thought, I've already got the achievement from doing all of his storyline, so it'd be nice to not be beast mode and actually have some blood in our system for the next bit. Okay, so let's look at our stalker again. Last time you failed to resolve the situation with your stalker. You have to get a handle on that one way or another. You're in your haven when the intercom rings. Answering cautiously, you hear an older male voice. Hello, I'm calling because a friend asked me to come by and offer you my services. What do you mean services? You know, services, you know what I'm talking about. The man sounds strangely excited, breathing hard. Is this a sex thing? No, or, I mean, not in that way. I know you're one of them. Please, it's alright, I don't mind. You can drink with me, if you understand what I mean. A man you've never seen before is paying a visit to an apartment not many people know of, offering for you to feed from him. Let's continue this face to face. That's a wonderful idea. Silence. A minute passes and you hear a knock at the door to your haven. You cautiously open the door. The stranger looks at you sheepishly. He's in his 30s, dressed in a clean business suit. He looks moderately successful. Someone you could meet at an investment bank. I'm sorry, I didn't want to intrude, so that's why I called from downstairs. Come in. You know what, come in. I was hungry anyway. The man looks comically satisfied as you usher him into your haven. He barely waits for you to close the door before he loosens the collar of his shirt, closes his eyes and bares his neck in quivering expectation. You look at the man, taken aback by such forwardness. Figuring that you didn't invite the man here for a chat, you lean closer, taken by the shoulders, and sink your fangs into him. This is not an unpleasant way to feed. You reflect as the blood flows into your mouth. The food comes to your door of its own volition. The man moans as you drink from him, lost in the ecstasy of the kiss. It feels a little unseemly, but it would be churlish to begrudge him his pleasures. Taking care not to drink too much, you let go of the man after licking his wounds closed. Suddenly, you're startled by a surprising sight. A woman not very old, strangely dressed, is looking at you intently, only an arm's length away. Before you can react, the mysterious woman opens your front door and vanishes from sight, leaving you to wonder whether you really saw her at all. As you stare confused, the man you drank from slips out of your haven and into the hallway, staggering a little from the effects of the kiss. You close your door, wondering what that was all about. At least you got to feed, if nothing else. We could do Tamaka. Upon returning to your haven, you find a small scrap of paper lying on your windowsill. Need a favour? If you're still up for it, come meet me in Prospect, Tam. Let's go do that. Once again, you cross the gate of Prospect Park and head straight for where you last saw the feral duo. Minutes passed, finding no sign of Tamaka, you begin to worry that something might happen to her. Suddenly you hear rustling coming from the nearby bushes, and it's not the stray cat kind of rustling either. You know I can hear you, right? Hey, you in the bushes, you know I can hear you, right? The rustling stops, but if only for a second. Suddenly the bushes part and Raoul walks out, desperately trying to look confident. Yeah, that's only because I wanted you to. Listen, I want to have a word before Tam gets here. She seems to like you for whatever strange reason, but the way I see it, you're a nuisance at best. At worst, you're a threat. You'll warm up to me. Just give it some time. You'll warm up to me yet. That whole suave arsehole routine might work on your dipshit cami friends, but I'm not impressed. Tamaka is my sister, in every sense of the word that counts. Anything happens to her that I find even remotely your fault, I'm coming after you. Is that clear? Crystal, now fuck off. Crystal, now get the fuck out of my face. Yeah, I just want to make sure we understand each other. What I'm saying is, if anything happens to Tamaka, I'm holding you accountable. All of a sudden, the sound of footsteps reaches your ears. It's just faint enough to not be ostentatious, but still loud enough to hear. You can tell that whoever's approaching wants to make their presence known. Both you and Raoul turn just in time to see Tamaka emerge from behind an old sycamore tree. It's hard to tell just how long she's been listening in on your conversation. In any case, she walks up and speaks, addressing no one in particular. Did I miss anything? She is beautiful, isn't she? Look at them eyes. Your brother's worried about you. He seems to think I'm a bad influence. Ah. In an instant, her voice goes from mockingly sweet to stern and unyielding. Her next words sound like a challenge. Is that true, Raoul? You think I can't take care of myself? God damn it, Tam. That's not what this is about, and you know it. I know, big brother. You meant well. You always mean well. Ah, screw it. Why do I even bother? Oh, I said the wrong thing. And with that, Raoul takes his leave. Tamaka waits in silence, but just long enough to make sure he can no longer hear her and addresses you. I have a favour to ask. For you, anything. She raises an eyebrow. Anything, huh? Careful. I might keep you to that. I meant it. I meant what I said. A look of genuine surprise washes over her face. She blinks as if trying to revert to her default resting bitch face setting. I have an errand to run. I was hoping you'd come with me. There's a place east of here. It's a short walk. We should be back in about 2, maybe 3 hours. Wait, we're walking? As in, on foot? In New York City? I don't like cars, alright. They remind me of old times. Before I became this. It can be distracting. So, can we go? Sure, let's go. Sure, we go now if you're ready. Well, alright. And so you head towards the parking lot accompanied by Tamaka and a lot of unanswered questions. Following Tamaka's directions, you finally arrive at the Evergreen Cemetery, one of the oldest burying grounds in Brooklyn. You enter through the southwestern gate and follow your companion through the sea of tombstones. It's a nice enough place as far as graveyards go, much less homogenized, fucking hell. Much less homogenized than the usual flat field littered with identical markers. Tamaka confidently presses on, swerving and weaving along a pre-programmed path. It's clear that she's been here more than a few times. Finally, she makes a sharp left and takes a few more steps down a gravel walkway, coming to a sudden stop in front of a modest headstone. The inscription reads, Luca Santiago, beloved sister and daughter, born 1991, taken from us too soon. With her eyes fixed on the gravesite, she lets out an absent-minded utterance. I need a moment alone, not long, 5 minutes at the most. You look around in search of a good spot to wait for her and pass the time. At the far end of a nearby lawn, you notice a lone bench situated under a weeping willow. A lone bench situated under a weeping willow. Suddenly you hear voices, distant but slowly approaching. Judging by the tone and timbre, you're guessing it's a couple of teenagers out to get their late-night kicks among the dearly departed. Might be a good chance to feed. Then again, you could just pass the time walking around the area. It's actually quite nice, in a dark and somber kind of way. I'll take a walk, don't take too long. I'll wait on that bench by the tree. Feeding opportunity. Teenagers. If she's mourning and stuff, maybe don't sully it by having a snack. So, I'll take a walk. I guess I'll just take a walk. Don't take too long. She throws you a razor-sharp glare. Yeah, like I said, 5 minutes. You spend a few minutes walking around, taking in the sights, and reading the various inscriptions on some of the older headstones. Finally, you get back to the tree and find Tamika sitting on the bench. Without a word, you sit next to her. You look over to her, doing your best not to stare. She looks down, crossing her arms and putting her hands on her shoulders. In an instant, the ferocious savage disappears, replaced by a vulnerable young woman. I think I'm done. You feel like sharing? No, but I guess I owe you an explanation. She looks away. You can tell she's struggling to open up to you. So you remain silent, trying not to make her uncomfortable. I was embraced not far from here in this cemetery. A fitting spot, I suppose. It was close to a decade ago. I'd been on the road for a couple of years at that point, hitchhiking from one town to another. New York was supposed to be just another stop. And then I met Jezebel. She was strong, smart, independent. Seemed like someone I could trust. Someone I could get close to. She never made me feel inadequate or ashamed. And she could hold her own in a fist fight too. Funny thing though, she only wanted to meet during nighttime. I didn't think much of it. Even came up with excuses for her, busy, eccentric, whatever worked. Until one night she sank her teeth into my neck. Is she still around? You keep using the past tense, I take it she's no longer around. She's not dead, if that's what you're asking. At least not that I know of. She left soon after turning me. I think the Conclave of Prague really shook her up. Conclave of Prague? Prague, it's a city in Central Europe. It was supposed to be a neutral ground, a good place to discuss politics and strategy. It ended up almost turning into a civil war. I like the light shining through the trees and giving it a sort of halo of light. Next thing you know, the Anarchs were expunged from the Camarilla. The Anarchs were expunged from the Camarilla. All that they had done for our kind, the blood they spilled, it didn't amount to a thing. I can't blame Jezebel for feeling betrayed, but yeah, even though I still had Raoul and Luca, I was still furious and terrified. Luca died a few years later. Operation Lights Out, they called it. It was a coordinated assault by the Second Inquisition. A genocide by any other name. Her family got together, brought up a plot and buried an empty casket. I guess they wanted some closure. Can't fault them for that. Sorry, my mouth was getting dry. Even though she's not really here, I like to come and visit from time to time. Reminds me of who I am, keeps me in check, keeps the beast at bay. Also, this being the place of my embrace, you have to appreciate that level of irony. She straightens up and looks at you as if something just occurred to her. Sorry, I don't know what came over me. 1 minute I'm all grunts and stares, the next I'm giving you my biography. I guess I'm just tired of being scared, alone. You don't have to be alone. I used to think so, but those were simpler times. At this point I'm just looking for something to believe in, someone I could give a damn about. You have me? You have Raoul? I'm not going to say either of these. You have me? You got me, for whatever it's worth. She looks at you, her mouth drops open ever so slightly. You can tell she wasn't expecting that. Yeah, I do, don't I? You open your mouth, but before you can make a sound, Tamika motions at you to keep quiet. She lifts her head and sniffs at the air. Her ears perk up and her eyes widen. Suddenly, she pushes you with all of her strength, sending you flying off the bench. Before you even hit the ground, an immense shape flies into view and smashes down onto the bench, splintering it into pieces. With the blood surging through your veins, you pounce onto your feet. You look at the massive fur and muscles that just nearly pulverized you. The creature rears its head, gives you a strange, deranged stare. It then turns to Tamika. She seems utterly terrified, frozen in place as if she literally just saw a ghost. You notice the creature shift its weight as if it's preparing to pounce. Celerity, push her out of the way. With your reflexes greatly enhanced, you are able to get over to Tamika and push her out of the monster's way. You both land safely on the grass while the beast flies through the air and smashes face first into a marble headstone. The creature then turns towards you. For a second or two, it moves its mouth awkwardly as if trying to remember how to form words. Stay out my ground. Oh, I think he must be a werewolf. The creature runs off towards a nearby clearing, when all of a sudden a gunshot sends it tumbling onto the ground. A group of well-armed men in body armour emerge from the shadows in an orderly formation and move in closer around the creature. Oh, Okay, so the creature, if it's a vampire who is a gangrel like she is, then we should not let it be taken by these men in armor. If it's a werewolf, it's still breaching the masquerade. Oh, fuck. See, retreat and hide seems like the safe option, but will that make Tamika sort of pissy about us? Retreat and hide. Not sure what to make of what's happening. You figure it's best to get out of sight. As you start backing away into the nearby bushes, you notice Tamika following your lead. From the relative safety of the thick foliage, you watch in silence as the group of armed men subdue the creature using steel nets and cattle prods. In the corner of your eye, you catch Tamika looking away, as if it really annoying that it cuts off there, as if she finds this whole spectacle somehow distasteful. She speaks under her breath, her voice shaking. Can we get out of here? You see no reason to object. The walk back turns out to be a quiet and somber experience. You both walk in silence, the city a blur of lights and cars careening by. You look over to Tamika. She seems lost in her thoughts. Finally decide to break the silence. Are you going to be alright? That thing back there really spooked you. I don't know. She catches herself and quickly attempts to hide her vulnerability. Yeah, I think so. It said her ears perk up, and the gangrel trait is that they generally have something about them that you can tell is animalistic. Like that guy had teeth coming up and lots of hair on his face, and I thought that he could be a gangrel. But obviously, it could also be a transforming werewolf. But when I said her ears perked up, I thought, oh, maybe I've missed her ears, like, being in her hair. But it doesn't look like they've specifically painted any animalistic ears on her. Because apparently the gangrels are supposed to be, like, closely in tune to the beast. And the beast can take on many animalistic forms. So they could be wolf-like or, cat-like or whatever. It's just that I've always heard stories about the scarred one. I never thought I'd actually run into him. The scarred one? It's the only name he's known by. He's a cautionary tale for young gangrel. He's what happens when you let the beast take over. I see. So he was a gangrel. I always figured him to be more of a metaphor. Seeing him in real life, it's like if a Christian just happened to run into Judas Iscariot. Ah, jeez-o. Let's do a Google. Google Translate. We love Google Translate. Makes me sound not as much like an idiot. Judas Iscariot.
Judas Iscariot.
Iscariot.
Judas Iscariot.
Judas Iscariot. It's like if a Christian just happened to run into Judas Iscariot one day. And seeing him hunted down by the SI, I don't know what to think. I don't even know where to start thinking. Deciding to give her some space, you spend the rest of the walk in silence. Soon enough, the familiar tree line of Prospect Park comes into view. You stop by the entrance nearest to Tamika's haven. She keeps walking without so much as a word or glance in your direction. She stops after several paces and turns back toward you. I'm sorry, thank you for coming with me, but now I have a lot of shit to figure out. Once I do, I'll let you know. And with that, she disappears among the trees. Seeing no point in sticking around, you take your leave. Okay, yeah, I was going to say, should I rest? Looks like this is the only side quest we can do at the moment, so let's do that. Oh, we can see her. Okay, let's do the side quest and then we'll see her. You started to look at churches differently since your last encounter with Benoit. You're not sure what happened inside, but it was unavoidably real. You felt it. When Benoit mentioned that being in the presence of Father Anthony's faith would eventually kill someone like you, an undead being, you believed him. It doesn't seem to be very common, though. In New York, you pass thousands of people every night, and none of them have made you feel so afraid or insignificant. Just refilling me skull. If you were to encounter someone like Father Anthony in the subway or a nightclub, you would know. Let me just really annoy you with some ASMR. Destruction of the Coke bottle. It fits better in the recycling when it's made small. Like this. I'll put that in the recycling downstairs in a bit. There are many churches in the 5 boroughs, and you're pretty sure most of them don't contain someone whose faith can touch you in this way. Yet, you've become wary. They just might. Still, tonight the cathedral looks as before, a striking landmark acting as a symbol of faith for people who have no idea that vampires exist in their midst. For them, questions of faith and myth are theoretical or philosophical. For you, those same questions suddenly define the meaning of your new existence. You sneak into the cathedral like an old hand, as if going to church has been a regular part of your life. Inside the cathedral, is almost deserted. You're not sure if you'll be meeting Benoit alone. The idea of feeling Father Anthony's faith in your undead flesh freezes you with terror. Benoit is waiting for you in the front pews of the cathedral in the exact same spot where you saw Father Anthony. Worried, you approach, but don't feel the touch of faith that shook you before. Benoit nods at you to sit next to him in the pew. Aren't you worried about meeting here? What if your friend the priest returns? Don't worry, he's not here tonight. You've had some time to think. I'm guessing you found the touch of Father Anthony's faith hard to ignore. For most people, God's presence is a question of faith. When I talk with Father Anthony, it feels like proof. Benoit is fervent, intense as he speaks. It's clear these questions have consumed his existence. Perhaps they'll consume yours too. I can't stop thinking about This is kindred culture. What does the Camarilla believe? The old ones? It's true the elders are not always so good at teaching their childer. Maybe the Camarilla would function better if we all knew these stories. Benoit looks around reflexively to make sure nobody is listening. There are only a few people in the enormous cathedral, and they don't seem to be interested in you two loners, murmuring to each other in the front pew. It might seem like ancient history, things that happened thousands of years ago, but time works differently for our kind. If the stories are true, there are Methuselahs still in existence who walked the earth when Jesus was alive. The only problem is that all vampires lie. They adjust history to suit their egos. You can talk to different elders. Surely something was written down. Let's focus on what we can verify. Something was written down before the Masquerade was established. Of course, the Tremere have many interesting manuscripts in their libraries. I've seen a few. If you have the chance, I recommend you looking at them. This is how the story goes. God cursed Cain as punishment for the murder of Abel. Cain walked the night shunned by humanity and drank blood to sustain himself. Even from the point of our origin, we are damned. However, the story becomes really interesting when we move forward. Cain creates more of our kind, often referred to as the second generation. They lived in the fair city, later called Enoch, ruling openly over the city's human inhabitants. I see the fair city as Cain's redemption, cursed by God to wander, who made himself as a ruler and lawgiver, acting as an immortal shepherd to humanity. It only started to go wrong when the second generation begat the third, and vampires started to run amok. So the third generation, also known as the Antediluvians, who founded the great vampire clans. You can trace the direct lineage of the blood to the antediluvian of your clan. So we'll look at antediluvians because they're quite interesting. The progenitors, members of the dreaded third generation, and the founders of the 13 vampire clans. So basically, Cain begat the second generation, which is a group of vampires, and they begat the 13 vampire clan heads. So this is where Tremere, Nosferatu, Ventru all started, was with the antediluvians. And then the Methuselah, a vampire who has existed for a millennium or more, an elder who no longer participates in kindred society. Methuselahs are rumored to hail from the 4th and 5th generations. Okay, so they're old enough to possibly have known the antediluvians. Okay, so pause if you want to read. Pause if you want to read. Iron kindred, recently embraced, but more than fledgling. There's only one word, like one sentence there, so we'll go with that. Elder. Generation. Antediluvians. So, we know much more about them than we know about the second generation. After the first city, Cain largely departs the story. Perhaps he was disheartened by the depredations of his descendants. The antediluvians went on to build a second city in imitation of the first, but it's doubtful their rule was just. In the Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines story, Cain was, spoilers, the taxi driver. If you play it through as a crazy vampire, whose name has gone out of my head, Torridor, Ventru, Bruja, Tremere, Nosferatu, Malkavian. Malkavians are the crazy people. So these are the wise madmen. If you play it as Malkavian, something in their blood like makes them freak out when they're in the taxi with them, like. But also, if you look into the files of the game, you can see that any voice acting that he had to do is labeled Cain, so he is supposed to be the original vampire. He is supposed to be Cain from biblical story, and in it he just like acts as a regular vampire, just watching the course of history go by as he is a taxi driver and drives people from place to place. Probably because taxi drivers get all the goths, getting all the drunks from place to place. So yeah, that's a pretty interesting little bit of info. There are people moving in the cathedral, and both you and Benoit have made sure that none get close enough to hear you talk. As Benoit goes on, your undead senses detect something that deviates from the normal hubbub of devout mortals, cathedral workers and tourists. You hear the squeaking wheels of an old wheelchair that hasn't been taken out too often. He looks like he's wearing someone else's face on his face. Man 1, we've been doing this for 20 years, and still you pull stuff like this, Michael. Why did you bring your sister here on the field? This is no place for the disabled. The voice is that of an older man, Midwestern. He sounds exasperated, as if he was rehearsing an argument for the 100th time. Man 2, she wanted to come. She doesn't get out of the house very often. Besides, you should be grateful, Bobby. We would have never found our new partners without her. Okay. The second voice belongs to an old man too. It's more intense and still holds echoes of a Russian accent. Yes, because you talked about vampires online. You got your door busted in by the FBI, as I remember. We did, sure, but we cleared the misunderstanding, and now we're consultants, so quit your griping. Bobby, Michael, play nice. You sound like an old couple. The third voice has a heavier Russian accent and belongs to an older woman. All three have clearly known each other a long time. Sorry, hers would have been like, Bobby, Michael, please stop. Let's find Father Anthony and see if he can help us. From what I've heard, he is an exceptional man. Yeah, exceptional. He should have said, da, exceptional. But he doesn't like moles. You nudge Benoit and discreetly point out the three people approaching. You belong to the cathedral's central aisle. He nods in understanding. This is bad news, whoever these three are. We need to get out. Let's meet outside. No. If I use celerity, they'll be like, oh look, vampires. Walk out past them. Or move discreetly to the side. I guess this is the best option is discreetly to the side. But I want to walk past them and see if we can hear any more. You decide to stand up and walk right past three mortals, hoping they don't realise what you are. Pretending to be mortal is second nature to all vampires, or at least it should be. Besides, not long ago you were a perfectly ordinary human. You adopt the obvious smile of someone who doesn't suspect that anything might be amiss in God's house and take a few steps towards the aisle. Now you get a better look at them. The three mortals approaching you have an aura of experience about them. They look like they've seen a thing or two and emerged alive. Both men have the stubbles and overgrown haircuts of those whose lives are consumed by an obsession. The woman looks at you casually, then stares. She has a grey quilt on her knees. You never met a mortal who knew how to deal with the world of the kindred. Something tells you that these three just might. Panicking, you turn around and start walking briskly towards the side of the cathedral away from the three. You don't want to attract attention to yourself, so you pick up a brochure detailing how you can donate money to the cathedral. You pretend to study the leaflet and hope the three turn their attention away from you. If you were still human, you'd be sweating from the stress. It's hard to say what exactly about these three makes you so worried. Something is in how they carry themselves, like they know what kind of terrors lurk in the night. Even from a distance, you hear a few snippets of their conversation thanks to your vampiric abilities. Don't get me wrong, I love having fun then. God knows we spent enough time in the wilderness. That's what makes us hunters, Bobby. We pay the price. The two men settle in the front pew exactly where you and Benoit sat just a moment ago. The woman waits in the wheelchair. Turn towards the high altar. Discreetly, you took away the brochure and strolled casually down the side aisle towards the exit. That was a close call. Oh, fuck you. Who were those three? Did you recognize them? I might have, I'm not sure. There's talk of a few tenacious vampire hunters living in the city. One of them is supposed to be a woman in a wheelchair. For a second, Benoit looks at you as if he was wondering whether he should say something. There's one thing I've always wondered about the story of Cain. The traditions of the Camarilla put a lot of faith in the relationship between sire and child. You're supposed to follow the example of your maker, yet Cain didn't really seem to care for the vampires he embraced. Did he think it was a mistake to recreate our kind? Messiah left me. Is that a common thing among the kindred? Yes, unfortunately the kindred are selfish and cruel. You know I'm Sophie's child, and you're her protege. It's amazing that we share an appreciation for the mythologies of our kind, considering Sophie has little interest in questions of the spirit. You stare at Benoit. You knew there was something he wasn't telling you. But in all the talk about Cain and the fair city, you forgot about him. Now the question is, what does he mean? Does Sophie know her child is talking to you? Probably not. Don't hold it against me, but I admit finding some pleasure in seeing you suffer the effects of Father Anthony's faith. I suppose that's the demon in me. Oh, potence. Okay, let's not do that. I'm not your enemy. I understand that you're bitter, Benoit, but I'm not your enemy. I'm sorry, I know that. It's just that sometimes I get too tempted by sin. You know, we should meet again. We've talked so much about myth, but maybe that's cowardly when the reality of faith is right in front of us. I'll introduce you to Father Anthony. You nod, unsure whether that's a good idea. Benoit walks away and you follow his example, not wanting to hang around the cathedral any longer. Okay. So now we can hang up Tamaka again. Battle of the Cloisters. Tapping on the window, a small greyish bird flying off, a small piece of paper left on the windowsill. Prospect ASAP. Tam. As you open the blind, you're able to spot a small greyish bird flying off into the night. Looking down, you notice a small piece of paper on the windowsill. Prospect ASAP. Tam. Third time's the charm, you think to yourself, as you once again cross the gate of Prospect Park and head for Tamaka's Haven. To your surprise, you find her out in the open, sitting on the lawn, surrounded by a host of woodland creatures, birds and squirrels mostly. The critters each patiently await their turn as she flicks seeds at them. It looks almost whimsical in a twisted sort of way. How you holding up? Well enough, all things considered. She scatters the remaining seeds onto the grass and hops to her feet. I've been doing some digging. The Inquisition has a safe house up in Manhattan. I think that's where they're keeping him, the scarred one, I mean. I want to pay them a visit, kill that thing, and as many of those SI bastards as I can get along the way. Isn't that a breach of the Masquerade? Attacking government safe house, correct me if I'm wrong, wouldn't that be considered a breach of the Masquerade? Yeah, and that's the least of our worries. Throwing a legion of armed goons standing in our way, and an all-powerful vampire as the cherry on top. Look, I'm not stupid. I know it's risky as hell, and I'm well aware I might not be coming back. Still, it's something I have to do, with or without your help. Oh, what the hell, I'm in. What the hell, who wants to live forever, right? I'm in. Me too. He emerges from the shadows, a mere few feet away from you. Son of a gun finally managed to sneak up on you. Tamaka eyeballs him as he gets closer. You've seen that look before. She's clearly asserting her position. But this time it comes off as a formality rather than an actual challenge. How long have you been there, Raoul? Long enough. Still not buying the whole scarred one bullcrap, but taking a bite of the Inquisition's collective ass is just too good to pass up. I want in. I just lied to you, believe it or not. Just be ready for it. Better believe it. Call it the Scarred One Santa or the Tooth Fairy. Just know that it's very real and very dangerous. Ugh, fine. Consider me fairly warned. Now can we move this along? I'm itching to kill some SI fucks. Tamaka? You got an option? You got an opinion? Heh, guess I know who the Alpha is around here. He should come with us. He's got the right to be there, to see the Scarred One with his own eyes. Plus, my brother can be a pain in the ass, but he's one hell of a fighter. There you go. Tam's seal of approval. It's settled then. Let's go. Fucking finally. And with that, you leave the relative safety of Prospect Park, steeling yourself for things to come. As you get closer to your destination, you get the sneaking suspicion that Tamaka's been pulling your leg. Following her lead, you take a turn from Broadway into Fort Tyrone Park. It doesn't seem to make sense, you think to yourself. There's only one spot between here and the Hudson River, but it can't be, can it? Surely enough, as the stone facade of the cloisters comes into view, Tamaka motions at you to keep out of sight. How the hell is this well-known tourist trap a hideout for the Second Inquisition? Isn't this place a tourist attraction, or the cloisters? Seriously? That's the Inquisition safe house? Talk about hiding in plain sight, huh? This place used to be a lot of things, and now it serves as a staging ground for the Inquisition. If my sources are to be trusted, and they usually are, they brought him here for what they call processing. Doubt they'll keep him here for long, though. If we want to get to him, it's now or never. As if on cue, a group of armed guard walks out of the museum, pushing a gurney with a large steel container on top of it. As they wheel it out into the open, a truck approaches. The operatives start preparing to load the crate into the vehicle. You scan the area trying to take a head count. Tamaka beats you to it. You count at least 7, probably more inside. We do this quietly and take them out one by one. Raoul frowns. I say we're going guns blazing, figuratively speaking. If there are more inside, let them come. The more the merrier. Let's try the stealthy approach. Why don't I talk to them? Can I presence that many people? I don't think I can. Should I try? Why don't I talk to them? No, they're gonna know I'm a vampire the moment I appear, aren't they? And even if not, they're doing something dodgy, so let's try stealthy. Tamika's right, we should get in quietly, take them out one by one. Tamika nods in silence. Fine, then let's do this already, before you two bore me to final death. You split up, aiming to cover as much ground as possible, sticking to the shadows. You advance, keeping track of one another's progress. You hardly even notice Tamika takes out the first guard, not a peep out of him. Trying to keep up, Raoul kills the one to your left. He's sloppy, takes his sweet-ass time bleeding the guy out. With his dying breath, the man lets out a yelp, drawing the attention of one of his comrades. With the guard fast approaching, you ponder your options. Slice his throat with your fangs, or choke him out. I guess I'm not strong enough for that. I've got potence, right? So I could be strong enough for that. Choke him out. As the guard walks by, you leap out of the shadows and put him in a crushing headlock. Opt for a non-lethal approach. You quickly choke the guy out. Just as you're about to move on, Raoul jumps in and plunges his claws into the man's chest, then turns towards you and mutters a silent reprimand. No witnesses. 3 down, 4 to go. You keep a steady pace, moving across the courtyard, picking off the guards one by one. Tamika does her part, 3 to go. Raoul gets messy again, at least this time he's quiet. With only 2 of them left, you pick one for yourself and gesture at one of your fellow ferals to take care of the other. Tamika's quiet but Raoul's closer. Which will you choose? Tamika. You're behind Tam, pointing at her final target. She nods and starts making her way towards him. Suddenly, by virtue of sheer luck, he turns around just as she's about to pounce. His scream is quickly muffled but still loud enough for the very last guard to hear. As all 3 of you approach him, the dire reality of the situation hits him like a ton of bricks. Paralysed with fear, he keeps shifting his aim from you to Tamika to Raoul. He is severely fucked and he knows it, and since you're standing closest to him, you might as well do the honours. Feeding! You walk over to the quivering mess that mere minutes ago thought himself the toughest of the tough. Before he can react, you slap the gun out of his hands, lean in and smile. Hi. Half a second later, your fangs are already halfway in his windpipe. The blood tastes sour with a hint of cowardice and regret. Could have gone with a bang, chose to go out with a gurgle. Oh well. With the SI operatives taken care of, you turn your attention to the container in the middle of the courtyard. Using your combined strength, you make a quick work of the steel door. As you walk in, the moonlight from behind you illuminates a twisted figure huddled on the floor. It's hard to believe that the thing lying before you, beaten and tortured within an inch of its own life, is the same creature you fought back at the cemetery. What the fuck is that thing? It's what happens when you lose control. It's what happens when you lose it, when you let the beast take over. His lips move silently as if searching for the right words. He looks to you, then turns to his sister as if waiting for a sign. For a moment, Tamika just stands there. She looks down at the scarred one, the once fearful bogeyman, whose very mention would strike terror in the heart of her tribe, now reduced to a whimpering pile of flesh. Finally, she turns to you with a look of childish innocence mixed with confusion. Then she looks back at the scarred one. You can tell she's lost. Tam, what the hell are you waiting for? Let's kill this thing and get out of here. It's your choice, Tamika. It's right, it's what you came here to do. You sure somehow doesn't feel right. It's your choice. This is your choice. I can't make it for you. She turns to you with a look of pride mixed with desperation. I'm not asking you to. Do it, Tam. You know he deserves it. Hell, looks like you'll be doing him a favour. He made his choice a long time ago. You don't have to. Whatever you do, there will be consequences. Hell, looks like you'll be doing him a favour. He made his choice a long time ago. You don't have to. Whatever you do, there will be consequences. I don't know which of them is the best option. Made his choice. Okay, he made his choice a long time ago. But it doesn't mean you need it. But it doesn't need to be your choice. Suddenly, the very air around you seems to thicken. You look over to Tamika. She's not quivering anymore. She walks up to the scarred one. The pitiful creature presses itself into the corner in a desperate and futile attempt to crawl away. Without a word, she grabs the creature by its ears, sinking her claws into the side of its head. She looks him dead in the eye. Her voice cuts through the air like cold steel. Stay out of my territory. In one fluid motion, she rips the chain off the wall. The pitiful shadow that was once the scarred one scurries off into the night. Raoul seems flabbergasted. Tam, what the hell are you doing? carving her own path. Standing outside the steel container, the three of you take a moment to gather your thoughts. You look at one another, at the blood staining your hands, clothes and faces. In the pale moonlight appears black and shiny, like a fresh ink stain on a fresh sheet of paper. Without another word, you head back toward the city lights. The journey back takes longer than it did in the other direction. With bits and pieces of the Second Inquisition still stuck in your clothes, you decide to play it safe by sticking to back alleys and cutting through the darker corners of the city. Tamika stays several steps ahead. Both you and Raoul are quite content to follow her lead. You can tell that these last few nights have taken a toll on her, but not necessarily in a bad way. She seems stronger somehow, confident, more in tune with herself. Soon, the awkward silence proves unbearable enough that you're willing to risk making small talk with Raoul. You think she's going to be alright? Yeah, I think so. She's just got to figure some stuff out. Our lineage, we have a special relationship with the beast. We can either let it control us or become attuned to it. It's a constant stroll marked with difficult choices. I think Tam just made one of them. Pondering what you just heard, the rest of the trip barely registers. You're surprised you suddenly find yourself back at Prospect. Tamika keeps walking. She strides through the park gate like a queen of old returning after a victorious conquest. You want to call out to her, but Raoul stops you with a gesture. Not yet. Give her some time to process all this shit. She'll let you know when she's ready. And hey, you did all right. I mean, don't get me wrong, you're still an asshole, but yeah, thanks. He smiles at you. Wonders never cease. See you around. And with that, he follows in his sister's footsteps. A weird smile creeps onto your face as you meld into the New York night. Time to rest. You come back to your haven after a long night out. Right before you open the door, you notice something strange. Sounds of television are coming from your apartment. Mad Men, if you're not mistaken. You open the door and carefully peek in. A young, dishevelled woman is curled up on your sofa. She has a blanket pulled on top of her and seems very comfortable. Next to her lies an obviously unconscious preppy woman. Oh, you're home. The woman reaches for the remote and puts Mad Men on pause. You went home, so I started without you, Netflix and chill. Jeremy, there's some space on the sofa. I brought us a snack. You enjoyed it last time. The woman points lazily to the unconscious girl. Oh, I forgot. My name is Adelaide. Adelaide Davis. I like you a lot. Help yourself and settle in. Feeding opportunity. Let us eat. Adelaide makes space on the sofa as you sit down between her and the unconscious mortal. You lean to drink from the girl as Adelaide uses the remote to turn Mad Men back on. The girl moans sleepily as you drink from her but doesn't wake. Her blood tastes pleasant and unhurried, a far cry from the adrenaline of blood you get by hunting a victim who knows you're coming. As you lick the girl's wound closed and sit back on the sofa, Adelaide lies down and rests her head in your lap. Isn't this nice? Can I kiss you? Adelaide turns to look at you and smiles. She climbs on top of you, straddling you. She kisses your face, your nose, and finally on mouth. There's an intensity to Adelaide, a hunger that makes you forget yourself. You may be dead, but as she holds your face in her hands, you remember what it is to live, if only for a second. The door to your apartment opens. Your mind is elsewhere, and you react slowly. Sophie strides into your living room. She has the key to your haven and never bothers to knock. Of course. You're shacking up with Adelaide Davis, the scourge of Snug Harbour in the flesh. This is a new low for you, fledgling. I'm embarrassed for you, really. Perhaps I should not be surprised. Adelaide, you'd better go. Adelaide glances at Sophie and gives you a quick kiss on the cheek. Sophie sighs. Adelaide leaves the room, making sure to give a wide berth to Sophie as possible. Sophie waits for the door to the apartment to close before she speaks. Clan of the Moon. Did I not advise caution when dealing with them? As you watch, Sophie makes a phone call. 10 minutes later, 2 of her servants arrive to remove the unconscious girl sprawled on your sofa. You clearly need my help. It won't happen tonight, but let me see if I can resolve your stalker problem for real. You'll have to wonder what Sophie meant by that as she leaves your haven. Sophie requests your presence tonight, and it seems urgent. You find her already waiting for you and clearly pondering something. It takes a few minutes of awkward silence before she speaks. I I require your assistance, Lamar. There is a matter of great importance that I need to ask you to resolve for me. You'll find what I'm about to say surprising, I'm sure, but I need you to hear me out. I need you to contact an important Anarch figure in New York City and arrange a meeting for us. Aren't meetings with Anarchs forbidden? Pretty sure we're not supposed to meet with the Anarchs. We're at war, right? The prince does look unfavourably at those who meet with the Anarchs. That much is true. You will find that with this, as with many other things, the Camarilla's policies have more than their share of hypocrisy inherent in them. It comes hand in hand with using medieval power structures. What we are forbidden to do, the prince may do willingly. Some of these things can be done in the open, while others are kept secret, as to not invite discord and discontent. I need to contact a man named Talk. He is an influential member of the movement, and, like most of them, very suspicious of the Camarilla. That's why I'm sending you to extend my invitation. Why me? How do you know he'll talk to me? How do you know he'll even talk to me? He won't, not yet anyway. You need to start further down the chain and with the right story to spin. From my limited sources adjacent to the movement, I've gathered that your best chance to speak to Talk is to first meet with his right-hand woman, Mia. She's a regular at a club called the Leech Pit. I think it would be best if you present yourself as an Anarch hopeful, a fledgling looking for a place of belonging. Only after you talk to Talk directly should you mention my name and the meeting. Yeah, that makes sense. If I open with, I'm with the Camarilla, that might cut me off. We can reveal our cards once we have his attention. My thoughts exactly. After tonight, I suggest that we do not speak of this again until you arrange the meeting. There are many who would jump at the chance to use this against us. With Kaiser, you have proven you can get the job done, even if it requires additional legwork. I trust you to deal with this task as quickly and covertly as possible. Forgive me, but that's all the time I can spare tonight. What I'm asking of you is just a part of a bigger whole. Trust me, it will all be worth it. I'll do my best. I know you will. Tell Gregory for the address of the Leech Pit. Have me introduce you to Talk. When she does, tell him I wish to meet. Let him pick the time and place, but let it be soon. If he proves too guarded, tell him I have something that will help him gather allies against Boss Callahan. That should pique his interest. Good luck, and obviously not a word about this to anyone else. Not even any new friends you might have made in recent nights. This stays between us. The way she says that final sentence suggests a not-so-veiled threat, but a warm smile belies that impression. You want her to keep trusting you. You wouldn't want to disappoint her. Gregory gives you the address. The club is in Brooklyn. Apparently, it's some kind of heavy metal bar with a dedicated concert space. Time to pay this Mia a visit. The place is teeming with people tonight. You arrive in the middle of a concert. The music is loud, almost deafening, and it takes you a while to get used to it. The noise hurts your ears. This venue isn't suitable for this kind of music. None of the instruments sound the way they should. The cacophony sets you on edge. A group of a few dozen patrons are tightly packed together, and the smell of their sweat and youthful, excited blood overwhelms you momentarily. It's with some difficulty that you turn to the task at hand. You've heard your share about the Anarchs and how they fit into kindred politics, but you only have your short encounter in Corona Park on which to base your actual opinion of the faction. That might have just been a horrible first impression, but you're keeping your guard up just in case. Or specs. Mingle with the crowd. You take a walk around the club. There are a few side rooms and a spacious bar area. You listen in on conversations taking place with voices hoarse from shouting. Walk in on a particularly sloppy threesome in the bathroom, and eventually hit the dance floor for a better feel of the place. As the concert comes to an end, you witness one of the guests, a feisty-looking girl, get into a scuffle with a much larger drunk guy. Doesn't seem to appreciate him reaching around her waist, slapping her with an audible crack that sends him to the ground unconscious. Two bouncers break up the crowd and pick up the drunk to carry him outside. Without so much as questioning the woman, you get an inkling that she might be who you were hoping to find. You approach her as she's about to leave. Yeah, the fuck do you want? She's still seething and bares her teeth for just a moment, but you've learned what to look for in a kindred. You're pretty sure she's one of you. I'm kind of new to this whole being dead thing. Care introducing me to the way you Anarchs handle it? Ugh, seriously, that's the best line you came up with? She doesn't smile, but she doesn't hit you either. Follow me behind the bar. She leads you through the bar to a back door that leads into a side room. Indie metal band posters are plasters on every wall. Some of them 20 or more years old, judging from the tour dates. Old sticky table and some rickety chairs are the only pieces of furniture here. Sit down. Why don't you sit down? I think I'm comfortable. Standing, thanks. She shrugs her shoulders. Suit yourself. She leans against one of the walls. The name's Mia. I'm guessing your visit here isn't a happy coincidence. I don't know you, so you're either new in New York or kept an outstandingly low profile. Both sound suspect. So before we take these pleasantries further, answer me this. Who do you run with? I'm independent. I don't bow to anyone. It's not adorable. Listen, fledgling, you don't get to be this fresh in the game and not pick a side. Those Second Inquisition fucks are all too happy to pick on delusional kids like you. So are the cams. They offer you rewards aplenty for your servitude, but never actually deliver. Fortunately for you, there's another option. But before I get to that, let's get one thing out of the way. She leans in. If this is some clever ploy to oust me from my domain, or if you're just here to spy on me and the movement, I'll make sure that you don't enjoy undeath much longer. Got it? You can tell it's a purely rhetorical question. Right, here's the pitch. The Camarilla like to think they're the vanilla option. That the Prince Bitch Panhard... What with Prince Bitch Panhard pretending that they were always in charge, but New York has never been a fully cammy city. They might have won the city in 99, but cams have had their asses handed to them many times over the years, and the movement has been here at least as long as they have. Well, I moved to NYC before World War II, and that was a good while after I saw the Camarilla for what they are, a way to keep us all subservient and in line. The Ivory Tower will tell you they're the only safeguard for the traditions, and that's kind of the problem. There's only one tradition we in the movement feel should be respected. The Masquerade, obviously. Everything else, ask the Prince and she'll tell you it's the logical continuation of the Masquerade, but really it's just a way to keep the elders powerful and in control. She grimaces. But here's the thing. For all the talk of us bloodsuckers being solitary creatures, we need a community to keep up the Masquerade. Community, yes, but authority, not so much. We need a council of peers to keep the assholes and power-drunk fledglings in check, but not a feudal prince to tell you where to feed or who to hunt down when they step on her toes. She takes a brief break from her indignant rant. So you anarchs don't have a ruler? A ruler? No, but leaders, sure. Most follow old boss Callahan's lead. You make it sound like it's most, but not you. Yeah, not me. If you're concerned about being well received in this city, you might need to go through Callahan. But if you're serious about the Anarch cause itself, he's not your guy. Callahan eats up fledglings like you and shits out self-preservation. His position as Baron is mighty shaky now, not least due to the fact he's backstabbed more than his share of allies. So he's doing what any other old fart in a position of power would do. He's doubling down. Negotiations are out, intimidation is in, tightening ranks as a precaution against the Second Inquisition. She surprises you by hacking and spitting on the ground in disgust. If you've spent some time with the Cams, that should sound very familiar to you. He's no better than Panhard and her cronies at this point. No, you need to contact Talk, and wouldn't you know it, it's your lucky night, because I'm the lick to do it through. How is Talk different from Callahan? Motherfucker, you're really asking for it. Her anger flares up again. I'll pretend that was just a naive question and a half-assed jab. Talk is a leader, a local baron who's overseeing a small domain, but doing a very good job of it. Callahan knows this, so he's giving him shit. Talk is taking it like a champ. He's smart like that. For one of his rebels, he's got the patience of a saint. Makes you think back to how things used to be, way back when, if the stories to be believed anyway. You want to meet him? I'm going to require a show of goodwill first. What do you have in mind? She flashes you a mischievous half smile. I appreciate your readiness, but I don't have the details just now. Ask for me at the bar when you're able. I'll leave something for you, and we'll take it from there. Now come on, I gotta go. She walks out of the bar, and you go to your separate ways. Seems like there's nothing more to do than return here later and see if Mia really can help you contact talk. Oh, you've had enough of her. It's time to head for Elysium and confront her with Sophie by your side. I've not done this yet, I don't think. Yes, I have. I'm lying. Visiting Elysium with Sophie is always a humbling experience because it's Elysium, not called the Art Hole or whatever the fuck it's called. It's always a humbling experience. She's connected, well-known, important. You're a nobody. You've always known this, of course, but it's especially apparent when you arrive with her. Everyone notices her and she drinks it all in like it's her birthright. That's Adelaide, Davis, let's go say hello. You spot the woman Sophie is referring to, Adelaide, your stalker, intense, dishevelled, young-looking, a Malkavian, if you've understood correctly. As you approach, Adelaide smiles at you with a darting look of distaste towards Sophie. I love how her hand gets sort of hidden in this fox fur. Don't worry, I won't judge people by the company they keep. That's sweet of you, darling. Let me say this straight. You can't keep doing what you've been doing. You have to leave my poor ward alone. Adelaide looks from Sophie to you and giggles. The sound must be rare in Elysium because it makes people glance toward you. I know she's making you do this. Don't worry. We'll be together again later. Let's try a normal date next time. This game you play is too much for me. Let's go on a normal date next time. Sophie turns slowly to look at you, not as disapprovingly as you expected. Perhaps she thinks you're playing a social game that kindred often do. Oh, I'm sorry. Adelaide looks serious as if you've forced her out of her comfort zone. I admit playing games is easier for me, but I appreciate it. Let's go on a date some night. Adelaide smiles at you shyly and walks away. Sophie waits for a moment before speaking. I hope you know what you're doing. Let me know how it goes. I suppose this will be a good laugh in these tedious times. You're fairly certain that you've accomplished your goal of getting Adelaide to stop harassing you with strange surprises. Whether she'll hold you to the date, only time will tell. Boof. Boof. You arrive at the leech pit, finding it less rowdy than the last time. The bar is still packed, but the dance floor is empty tonight. Instead, the old, crackling speakers are playing music that would probably sound like noise even on high-end hardware. Mia is nowhere to be seen, but you do remember she requested that you ask for her at the bar. You approach the bar as the bartender finishes pouring a beer for an older guy in a faded fraying Iron Maiden t-shirt. She turns to you. What can I get you? I was told to ask you about Mia. Yeah? Well, she's not in tonight. She looks you up and down, and a spark of recollection shines in her eye. Oh yeah, that's right. She takes a well-worn book from behind the counter, some kind of YA vampire novel, and flips through it. She produces a piece of paper from between the book's pages and passes it to you. She told me you'd be interested in reading this. You find a relatively quiet corner and take a look at the note. T wants to meet you. I'll arrange it, but you need to prove you're trustworthy. Look around the leech pit for a guy named Bruce, buff dude, tattoo sleeve on his right arm. I'm 90% sure he's somebody's retainer, sent here to spy on us by the cam. Get me the name of his master and write it on this card, then return it to the bar. It doesn't take you long to locate this Bruce guy. He sits alone in a corner, 2 beer glasses already empty on his table. You take a moment to consider your approach. Feeding opportunity. Okay. You figure you have time to feed before confronting this guy. You keep your eye on him, but look for a good opportunity in the meantime. Wouldn't you know it, a half-passed-out patron near the toilet is almost begging for somebody's attention. You prop him up as if to help him stand straight. His breath reeks of alcohol. You bite into his neck, right above his tank top, careful to drink just a little, and quickly. You don't get to enjoy the full palate. It is the closest to a beer you've had in a while, though. The man slumps in your arms, mumbles something under his breath, and you settle him down gently near the emptied kegs in the back. Somebody will come and pick him up for sure. Temporarily sated, you turn your attention back to the task at hand. That's when you lock eyes with Bruce. He's been standing there, just meters away for a while, you think. He slinks away through the main area and walks outside. He knows what you are, for sure. You follow him out, expecting to have to run after him, but he's there, having a cigarette. Yo, I had the feeling you'd join me. You smoke? He pushes the lighter close to you, the flame triggering a primal fear in you that forces you to take a step back and bump into another patron who's just leaving the bar. Heh, yeah, didn't think so. You were staring at me in the bar before. What do you want? It's just business. I'm here on business. I want to know who you serve, and then I'll be gone. 2 words. Blow. You breathe cigarette smoke straight in your face. Me. He flicks a cigarette at you and you flinch. It's all it takes for him to dash away much faster than a human should be able to. He's bolting all right. This is a masquerade breach. I'll still be able to catch him even if I just chase him normally. Pocket celerity. Don't want to use celerity. It's a masquerade breach, and there are patrons here. Is it a busy street? Is it an empty street? Celerity. Throwing caution to the wind, you focus your blood and give chase after Bruce. He might be faster than a human, but his abilities are a fraction of yours. He dashes into a nearby alley and you follow suit. Before he can jump the fence, you tackle him to the ground. A short brawl later, you are standing a few meters apart. Bruce eyeing you with hatred. Tell him his cover is blown. Intimidate him with violence. Here's the deal. You tell me your master's name, and you save yourself a world of hurt. Unless you want to exit this alley on a stretcher, you'd better whack. Bruce doesn't wait for you to finish talking. He jumps at you, kicking and punching with dizzying speed. It takes you by surprise, and he puts you in the defensive. Just as you're about to retaliate, he breaks away, jumps the fence at the end of the alley, and is gone into parts of the city unknown. Time to leave something for me. You borrow a pen from the bar and flip me his nose on the other side. You have a whole bunch of nothing to go on, but that won't work. You figure it might be better to leave any name for me, even if you have to pull it out your ass. Arturo, Kadir, Panhard, Kaiser. Leave no name, don't lie. On second thought, you doubt the Anarchs would appreciate being led astray. You leave the page blank. You pass the piece of paper to the bartender. She sticks it back in the same book. Hold on, 1 second. She wants to pass you something on to you. She produces a cell phone behind the counter. It's ancient, at least 15 years out of date. Oh right, and this, and an old charger. For the piece of junk in your hand, they rarely did think of everything. She said she'll be in touch. It takes you a moment to remind yourself how to operate this thing, and you find that the phone book is blank. There's no Wi-Fi connectivity and no saved messages. It's got a version of Snake though. Bartender is already over the other end of her domain, taking orders from patrons. With your Anarch contact nowhere in sight, you decide to move out for the night. Hopefully, Mia will still call you even if you left her with no new information whatsoever. You can't bring yourself to count on it though. Last time I did that, I totally got the name. I'll go with Wounded War Song. It's been some time since what kindred historians will no doubt refer to as the Battle of Cloisters. Still no word from Tamika. Maybe it's time you drop by to see how she's doing. Immediately after you enter the park, you can tell that something is wrong. An odd silence hangs in the air, like the silence from a choking victim after the fight leaves them. It doesn't take long to find Tamika. You see her in the distance leaning against a tree. As you make your way towards her, she puts her finger on her lips. Only then do you notice the blood dripping from her side. You pick her up, letting her lean on you. She looks at you, her eyes wild with fear and rage. They're here, the Inquisition. They found us. Raoul, he drew them away. Save my ass. He's still out there. We need to go. We need to help him. You sure you're up to it? Looks like they banged you up pretty bad. A twang of pain takes the breath away. Fine. You're barely standing. I won't let you get yourself killed. I'm going. You want to stop me? Might as well kill me now. Through sheer force of will, she manages to straighten herself up. Let's fucking do this. You head deeper into the park. Soon you stumble upon a set of innocuous barriers. Service vehicles, black and yellow caution tape, men in work suits that keep the civilians out of a certain area. It's not at all difficult for a creature of the night to avoid these. You'd almost think that their presence here is accidental, but once you spot black vans deeper in, you get a foreboding feeling. Tamika grabs your shoulder and squeezes hard. Hold up there. You have to squint to see it. 2 SI scouts have taken tactical positions between the trees. There's no way in hell you'd have noticed them, or hid in time if Tamika hadn't alerted you. Body armor, camo, night vision goggles, rifles, and semi-auto shotguns. Some equipment you can't even name. These guys mean business. There's no time. She's getting ready to just pounce on them. Consequences be damned. You need to think, and fast. Draw their attention away. Yelling at the top of their lungs, you rush at the men, forcing both of them to focus their fire on you. The first one falls before he's able to pull the trigger. The second one takes aim. Suddenly you realise you might have bitten off more than you can chew. Reflexively, you squint, waiting for the bullet to tear through your flesh. To your surprise, no shots are fired. You open your eyes and see Tamika standing over your would-be assailant. She flicks her wrists, sprinkling the grass under her feet with the man's blood. Don't steal my kills. All things considered, she seems to be doing alright. You keep on moving. Tamika gestures at the nearest patch of trees. Stick to the shadows, take them one at a time. Sound advice. You take it to heart as you move on towards Tamika's haven. It doesn't take long for you to run across more of them. 3 operatives in full riot gear are running down a park alleyway, sweeping the area with barrel-mounted flashlights. Keeping very still and very quiet, you wait for them to approach. Tamika watches you from the bushes nearby, clearly waiting to follow your lead. Try to take 2 of them out. As the first victim marches past, you lunge at him, sinking your teeth in his neck. In one sudden motion, you rip a chunk of flesh from his throat. Quickly, before the other 2 can react, you run at them, full speed. Just as you're about to take the first one out, Tamika pounces from the side, taking him out in an instant. As soon as she lands, she springs back towards the other one. A single slash of her claws is all it takes. The man's body falls to the ground, and after a second or 2, his head follows. You raise an eyebrow at Tamika. She hits back with a roguish grin. 2 to 1. No time to save your victory. A savage yell rings out from across the tree line. You know that voice. Roll. Tamika throws herself towards where it came from. It's almost unbelievable how fast she moves, considering the state she's in. You're barely able to keep up. Mere seconds later, you find yourselves under the cover of a rose bush, giving you a clear view of a nearby clearing. Off in the distance, you spot a group of gunmen converging. Slowly but surely, the circle of hunters closes in on a lone figure struggling on the ground. The figure lets out a pained roar. Looking closely, you realize it's Raoul, caught in the same steel net you saw used against the scarred one. He struggles frantically, trying to break free. With each passing second, step by step, the operatives close in around him. Driven by instinct, Tamika jerks forward to save her brother. She stops herself at the last moment as if reminded of your presence. Okay, how do we do this? I guess Fast and Fierce, or they're taking him alive, will find him. But if we say that, I don't think she'll be too happy. Fast and Fierce. We're going Fast and Fierce, no messing around. Take him out as quickly as you can. She nods in approval. Sounds good. You move in like a two-person SWAT team, staying low to the ground before you finally make your first move. The first 2 hunters meet their death. Unfortunately enough for the others to notice your presence, so much for the element of surprise. As 2 men turn towards you with their fingers already on the trigger, another 2 approach you, stabbing at the air with their cattle prods. Attack the close combat hunters. Shit. Gunmen. Prioritizing long-range attackers, you make quick work of them, slashing both of their throats before they can fire. Meanwhile, Tamika does her share as she swiftly avoids the cattle prods and moves in for the kill. 4 bodies hit the ground, 2 vampires are still standing. You both turn towards the last remaining foe, driven by sheer desperation. The sole surviving soldier stands over Raoul and aims his semi-automatic shotgun at his head. Tamika growls. You gesture at her to stand down. There's no room for mistakes here. Let him go and we let you live. Or Tamika on my mark. We're not giving up. A faint whisper escapes your lips and makes its way into Tamika's ear. On my mark, be ready. With shaking hands, the gunman looks at you, then Tamika, as if warning you not to come any closer. It's mostly for show. He's fucked and he knows it. Bide your time, waiting for the right moment to signal to Tamika. Finally, you see an opening, a split second of hesitation. Before you can make your move, Raoul springs up, grabbing the man's gun. As they struggle, you and Tamika lunge toward the gunman. A shot rings out. Raoul's body collapses under the weight of the steel net, his head a gaping hole. The operative looks at you, startled and confused, his eyes widen, seeing Tamika fly towards him, death incarnate. The man's scream echoing across the park. She doesn't stop, not when his intestines are spread on the grass, not when his eyes turn to bloody holes, not when his face turns to mush. Only when the screaming stops does, only when it's certain he has met his cruel end, only then does she stop. You watch in silence as she walks over to what's left of her brother. Falling to her knees, Tamika lets out a yell unlike any you've ever heard. It's as if she's been possessed by some wailing spirit, a banshee screaming out into the sky. Her scream echoes across the clearing until finally it all goes quiet. With tears streaming down her face, she looks up at you. It's my fault. I put us in this sight. If it wasn't for me, he'd still. Clenching her fist, she pounds the ground in frustration. Fuck. Fuck. It was his choice. Sounds horrible. Let's not say that. Oh, we need to get out of here. Come on, we need to get out of here. This isn't over yet. More will be coming. She gets up. A violent shiver runs through her entire body, as if she is literally trying to shrug off her despair. Then she looks at you again. She seems far more clear-headed. Right, let's get out of here. Hastily yet carefully, you make your way out of the park. You don't stop until you reach a nearby alleyway. There, in the relative safety of the surrounding darkness, you take a moment to rest. Leaning against the wall, Tamika presses her hand onto her wound, fighting off the pain. She looks up at you. Let's split up. Less attention. Hunters spot us on the rooftops. You need help. I'm not going anywhere. We need to get you patched up. I know a guy. We'll be fine. Knowing when it's time to fold, you nod and head toward the far end of the alley several steps. You look back to see how Tamika's doing. You smile, noticing her absence. Having managed to pass a couple blocks without incident, you thank your lucky stars and blend into the nightly New York crowd. Hopefully, Tamika's made it as well. Jeez, that was thrilling. A piece of paper is sticking out your mailbox. It's a computer printout, a note, and a screenshot from Google Maps. It reads, "Meet me at the indicated spot tomorrow at 10 p.m. I'll pick you up and we'll take it from there." No signature. The place marked on the map is the Lookout Point near Pier 1, just next to Brooklyn Bridge. You check the phone that Mia passed on to you. No new messages, no missed calls. It's all a bit fishy. There's only one way to find out who addressed this to you. Looks like tomorrow evening has been planned out for you. Here we go. You go downstairs as soon as you wake up. One more glance at the phone, but no news from Mia. You take the car down to Brooklyn, park on Front Street, and approach the meeting spot cautiously. A figure about Mia's size is standing there, dressed in an oversized jacket and looking out towards Manhattan. As you approach, you can hear her muttering something. It is true, but I do not think it true. If I do not think it true, then it cannot be true. And if it cannot be true, then... Hey, are you the one who left the note at my apartment? The woman turns around. It's not Mia. Whoever it is, you've never seen her before. She looks perfectly plain and unmemorable. The ink on the paper did the message leave. The ink on the paper did your face here bring. You turn around. 3 men, all of them barely and threatening, approach you. One of them takes the lead. So you got the message. I did. What now? Now you'll come with us. The boss wants to meet you. Callahan? That's Boss Callahan to you, fuckface. I suggest you get a move on. We've got places to be. The voice of the woman keeps creeping into your consciousness. The litany of gibberish ever present throughout this entire conversation. The man cracks his knuckles. Or we can do it the hard way. They all seem like vampires. I reckon they could catch me. Coming here was a mistake. It's time to blow this joint. Your muscles tense in preparation for a sprint that will take you away from this place and back inside your car. An angelic voice fills your head. It's the woman. She's captivating. You can see it now. You can't take your eyes off her. You don't want to leave her. You need to see her. Features clearer, closer. A stake slams into your chest. The man who talked to you appears before your face, smiling a crooked smile. Funny thing, I thought he was making a run for it. Whatever, load him into the boat, boys. You are barely conscious. It's impossible to tell where they're taking you or how long it will take. A sucking sound and the clear sensation of having a cavity in your chest that wasn't there before. A deep voice breaking through the oblivion you're returning from. Vincent, my boy, you truly are a nuisance sometimes, but you do get the job done. That's why I respect you. Thank you, boss. Sight comes back to you. The owner of the deep voice is a curious sight, dressed in what can only be described as Victorian clothing, with a monocle and greying red hair. Is this Callahan? He's a bit crazy looking, isn't he? Also, red hair goes white, not grey. There we go, coming to, are we? Heard you're a spirited one, eh, Vincent? Is this fledgling spirited, would you say? Yeah, boss, sure, spirited. I believe you already know who I am. You're Boss Callahan. Right you are, I'm guessing you know my role in the city. I represent the Anarch movement, while I'm not quite sure what you represent. I have invited you here to find out. Now let me make myself perfectly clear. I'm disappointed in you, truly disappointed, but I arranged this meeting to allow you to make amends. First though, I have to make sure you understand what your infraction was. So do you know why you're here? Because I wanted to meet with Talk. Ah, yes, you're not stupid, so that's a nice change of pace. Talk is the reason you're here. Or that little angry strumpet of his, I'm told. Yes? Mia. Oh, how I'd love to get my hands on her gaunt neck and wring it until it breaks. But see, I'm a statesman, and that's not the prudent thing to do. No, indeed, the prudent thing to do is tolerate both her and that blasted ebony-skinned mentor of hers. You folk call yourself Afro-American, correct? Bah, back in my day we knew what being American meant, and it sure as hell didn't mean being black. Ugh, this guy needs to die. Finish your disgusting rant makes sense. Finish your disgusting rant. I played a white woman last time, so I don't think I got that horrendously racist bullshit from him. Oh, fledgling, you have no idea who you're messing with. He looks at you with rage in his eyes, and you feel insignificant and vulnerable. An irrational fear takes over you. You cannot speak up against this man again. You just can't. He's too terrifying. Now that I have your full attention, I think what he's just used is dominate, which is when the beast in him, like, overpowers the beast in you. So it makes you feel like, oh, he's the alpha dog, he's top dog here, let's not argue with him. Now that I have your full attention, I'll request something from you, and you will obey me to the letter, but that comes later. First, you will answer a few questions, the first of which is, who pointed you to Mia? Nobody. It was my idea. Oh really? What was your intention behind the meeting? I wanted to contact Talk. I had to go through Mia. Ah yes, the so-called veteran loves to use petite girls to hide behind, I heard. That would check out. What did you end up discussing? I wanted her to explain the Anarchs to me. I just wanted to learn about the Anarchs, so I asked her about the movement. Oh child, you should have come to me then. I am the Anarch movement in New York City, and nobody makes a secret out of it. You bet on the wrong horse, and I'm sure you'll soon learn. See, that wasn't hard now, was it? Of course, I can't be sure how much of what you told me was true, and how much of it is worth about as much as yesternight's horseshit. But I'll find out, I always do. When I do, we'll have another one of these nice talks, and maybe, just maybe, you'll avoid this upcoming unpleasant episode next time. He gives Vincent a sign, and the burly man starts hitting you all over. You feel teeth, ribs, and fingers break. Your foot is mangled on Vince's boot. Your shoulder dislocated, your nose wrecked. That's enough, Vincent. Leave them to me. Leave them be. He snaps his fingers in front of your face a few times and checks if you can focus on his face. You can, but barely. I'm a man of principle. Another night I would perhaps put you in a casket, dip it in concrete, and dump it in the Hudson. A favourite of mine during the Roaring Twenties. Ah, it's been a while. But like I mentioned before, I am nothing but prudent, and so the interests of this city's kindred must come before my own needs and wants. I will therefore let you continue your existence. Here's what I require. Here's what I require in return for this boon. You are forbidden to meet Talk. I will keep an eye on you, on him. If you want a place with the Anarchs, you go through me and only me. Got it? You have to understand, what I made my associates do to you tonight was just business. We can still work out a mutually beneficial relationship. In fact, it's either that or your final death. Time to go, Vincent. Take the boat back. Leave the fledgling here. I think they have a lot to think about. Sure thing, boss. Pleasure making your acquaintance. Callahan walks away, as do Vince and his band of thugs. You lie on the ground for a while longer, feeling the blood slowly putting your body back together, your hunger growing. You can hear the beast calling for sustenance, for safety. For revenge? A distant but pronounced third desire. It's not until you mend yourself enough to appear more a mugging victim than an impossibly mangled walking cadaver that you hail a passing taxi passing and head back to your haven. The whole way there you're tempted by the beast. Your driver, 30-something with a strong Slavic accent and an unpronounceable name on his ID, keeps asking if he should drive you to the hospital. You keep declining, all the while thinking that if you only asked him to pull over for 5 minutes, you could feast on his warm blood to the beast's content, drink him whole. Nobody would know. Nobody but his wife and kids, if he has them. Nobody but his boss and co-workers. Nobody but you, as you look in the mirror tomorrow. Keeping your hunger at bay was never before as difficult as it is tonight. Driver stops at your apartment building. There's nobody around. You can do it. Do it now. Now. Resist the beast's call. You pay the driver and walk out fast, leave the car behind, and don't look back. Look back, walk back, feed. Nope, through the door, up the stairs, key in the lock, open the apartment, walk in, lock yourself in. The familiar four walls of your haven are a blessing. The beast inside you keeps nagging, but you kept it at bay tonight. Not a small feat, given your state. You're still weak. You're still not quite mended. You need to rest. Tomorrow you will have to feed again. Tomorrow you will have to consider your next move. Callahan is not the kind of man who quits, but tonight you rest. Rest. Waking up tonight feels different for two reasons. For one, you're pleasantly surprised that your body mended reasonably well while you were resting. It comes with a caveat though, the hunger you feel is pronounced, the beast like a black dog on the edge of your vision following you. But what is truly remarkable is waking up to the tune of an old cell phone ringtone. An unknown number is calling the phone you got from Mia. You pick it up. Kept that old thing charged after all, huh? You alright? I feel like shit. Look, that's too bad, but I don't really care. I was just being polite. I'm calling with good news. Talkers agrees to meet with you. There's a pub in the Bronx. Solids and Stripes. Be there tonight. 2 things. No drinking on the premises, so if you want to grab a snack, do it before setting foot in the borough. And this is an exclusively no powers meeting. We'll be rubbing shoulders with commoners the whole evening. And also, we don't trust you, so keep it casual or you'll blow it. Anything you'd like to add? Will you protect me from Callahan? If we meet, I need you to offer me protection from Callahan. I met him yesterday. He kicked my ass and forbade me from meeting talk. Silence on the line. Fuck. More silence. I can't promise you any protection on your way there or back, but at the pub you'll be in talk's domain. For all this posturing, Callahan doesn't have the balls to strike talk directly. We'll post additional lookouts on watch. That's the best I can do. If Callahan got under your skin, I get it. I was in that spot once or twice too. All I've got to say is, the risk is worth it. If you don't show tonight, I won't blame you, but it's a one-time offer only. You gotta hedge your bets. Just don't do anything stupid. You meet with us tonight, it better be in good faith. She ends the call. First things first, you take the subway to York Street Station and find the Front Street. Walk to Front Street, retrieve your car, and weigh your options while driving back to your haven. Feed. Been doing this for a good few nights. You're getting a feel for it. You're learning what kind of predator you are and what kind of blood you crave. You're so caught up in yesterday's problems and in the cloak and dagger debacle you're now part of that the hunt feels almost automatic and casual tonight. A fragment of you surrenders control. Just minutes after you find your victim, coax them and drink from them, you find you've forgotten their face and how they were dressed. It only hits you once you look at yourself in the car's rear view mirror. This was wrong. You can't let this become the norm. You hurt somebody, a human being. You're a monster. You need to stay mindful of this. You're a monster. But unless you let yourself off the hook, you can hold on to your Stop. You need to stay mindful of this. You're a monster. But unless you let yourself off the hook, You can hold on to your humanity and not let yourself slide down the spiral. But unless you let yourself off the hook... Okay. Yes, okay, fair enough. That makes sense. My brain wasn't connecting then. You're a monster, but unless you let yourself off the hook. So basically, if you still feel guilty about being a monster, then you're still a human. You still have humanity in you. If you just look at humans as, oh, they're just food, whatever, then you become more bestial, like the guy in the graveyard. Instead of clearing your mind, this clouded it further, and you are still no closer to a decision. Great, I've still got blood splatters every fucking way, even though I've just eaten. Oh, drive around before going to the meeting. You do intend to visit Talk tonight, but you decide to drive around a bit first. Something tells you there might be somebody tailing you. It sounds sensible to try and lose them. You spend a good 2 hours looking in your rearview mirror and driving all over the city before finally driving to the Bronx. You take some basic precautions as you enter Talk's turf. You park a few streets over from where the pub is and walk towards it while keeping an eye out for anyone suspicious. That kindred, for the most part, look no different than regular people. Makes things complicated, of course. If you're being followed or watched, it's going to be hard to tell. You reach the pub, shoot a final glance around. There's nobody suspicious around as far as you can see, and open the door. The smell of cigarettes is overwhelming. The whole place has an aura about it, a constant fog hanging right under the ceiling. The lethargic fans do not disperse it. The constant crack of billiard balls and clinking of glasses tells you all you need to know about this clientele. Not a very vampiric place at all. You're wondering if you got the address right. You apparently did. Mia's here. She motions you over to one of the few tables around. You took your sweet time to get here. What, got cold feet? Never mind. Anyone follow you? Not that I know of. Fair enough. Before I introduce you, there's some outstanding business to discuss. You should know it's Talk who wanted to meet you. I was against it. You proved pretty useless with Bruce. Carol, the bartender, mentioned that you made an effort, though, so that there's still that, I guess. Here's your second chance at a first impression. Don't waste his time, or I'll kick you out myself. You walk towards one of the tables. A guy in a coat and hat leans over to take his shot. He's way ahead of his opponent. The table is clear of his balls, save for the 8-ball in a tricky position. Hey, they're here. Be with you in just a moment. The hit is fast, precise, and sends the black ball exactly where his player wanted it. His opponent lets out a frustrated sigh. That's that. I believe that's $150 American, Joey. You want to pay up now, or up the stakes again? The disgruntled man accepts his defeat and pays up, then declares he's going to grab another beer. To the victor goes the spoils. Thank you kindly. He turns his full attention to you. The man is good looking, if somewhat gaunt and intense. His eyes especially seem to pierce right through you to your core, but it's not an unpleasant way. Not in an unpleasant way. Name's Talk. I believe you're Lamar, Sophie Langley's new plaything, is that right? Yeah. That's right. Yeah, Mia told me as much. Forgive me for being real with you right off the bat, but I like to know who it is I'm dealing with, so here's something that I've been scratching my head about. If you're with Langley, and Langley's Cam, through and through, I'm told, what is it you've come to accomplish here tonight? Sophie wants to meet with you. Don't ask why, she didn't tell me, she just said it had something to do with gathering allies against Boss Callahan. I'm here to arrange that meeting. The fuck? I knew nothing about this. They lied to me. He is furious. She's looking at the pool cue and you as if she was figuring the best combination for the two. It's fine, I appreciate the honesty, even if you went straight with my second in command. That I don't appreciate. Well, ain't that an interesting proposition? You can't be seriously thinking about meeting with Langley. She's hardline Cam. It's a trap, it must be. It just might be. It just might. He looks at you, pierces you with his unnaturally keen eyes. He's about to say something when a door opens at the back of the room. Hey, Talk, you, got a guess. They're in the back. Mia, won't you be a dear and keep our new friend company? I'll see what the commotion is. Sure thing. Talk tips his hat to you and walks to the back, joining the man who called for him. Mia glowers at you, this time weighing one of the pool balls in her hand. She looks like she's half a mind to chuck it at your face. You gotta be quite happy with yourself, bluffing your way in here. Oh, I could turn Anarch. I wish I did this differently, but it is what it is. I'm not proud of myself. You shouldn't be. You made me look like a chump in front of Talk. Here I was beginning to think you might be a good addition to our little family. There's a whole lot of trust you'll have to regain before that happens now. Talk appears from a door at the back and calls across the room. Yo, Mia, can I grab you for a second? Lamar, get over here too. You go to the back room. It's basically a storage area with a single wooden desk. It's pretty cramped, especially considering there's 5 other people in here with you. Talk ushers you in and closes the door behind you and Mia. 2 burly dudes are holding somebody down. A familiar voice reaches your ears. Motherfuckers, you're gonna pay for this, you hear me? The boss is gonna fuck you up so bad, you have no idea. Have you had the doubtful pleasure of meeting Mr. Cerruti before, Lamar? Yeah, we met yesterday. You're fucked. You're so fucked you don't even know it, you stupid piece of shit. I should have ended you yesterday. The boss told you to stay away. You should have listened. That's a story and a half, ain't it, Vince? Calm down now and tell me how many of your guys are still out there on my turf, Go fuck yourself. You're done. The boss will know the stupid piece of shit fledgling came here. He knows they're with Langley. You know what that means, Talk. No, I don't. What does it mean, Vince? Now the boss can wipe you out. He'll just say you're sucking Langley's tits. And all those buddies of yours, gone. You're done, Talk. Well now, if that's the case, I guess ridding NYC of your toady ass won't make things any worse, will it? Actually, there's an idea. Vince mentioned that he beat you up yesterday. Did I hear that right, Lamar? You want to pay the favor? Gladly. Go right ahead. Stake him. See, I haven't drank enough blood for this. Hurt Vince a lot. You hit Vince once, twice. He's chuckling in the beginning, but you focus your blood for some extra oomph and keep hitting him again more until he stops laughing. He's bruised, battered, and broken. The 2 Anarch dudes let go of him and you kick him some more while he's on the floor. You only stop when you hear Talk's voice. Enough's enough, Lamar. He takes an old pool cue, breaks it over his knee. Stake him and take him downstairs. Let's keep Callahan guessing about what happened to his favourite puppy. May takes the sharp piece of wood and jams it into Vince's chest. His features grow slack, his entire body inert. He doesn't give out a yelp. He doesn't even give out a yelp. The other 2 Anarchs take him out of the room. As entertaining as that was, I think Vince is, in his unmatched wisdom, shared more than Callahan would hope for. This changes things. Ever heard about Operation Lights Out, Lamar? It was a Second Inquisition effort here in NYC. A single night of raids at a magnitude never seen before or since. The Ivory Tower got away with just a few losses here and there. No major players were hit. They managed to find safe spots and stay out of the eye of the shitstorm. As though we got hit hard all over town. Havens were rooted out, entire coteries and safe houses gone, just like that. Nobody saw it coming. I barely got out in one piece. Mia looks at him with concern and puts a hand on his arm. He shrugs it off, gently but surely. Others, like my child Bob or Mia's sire, extinguished. But you know who got out without a scratch? Callahan. We've thought about it over the past few years. How is it that Big B managed to excuse himself from the Staten Island Museum, where we used to meet, just before vans full of guys in body armor show up? How is it that my baby is burning up after being shot with incendiary rounds? I also see Doug Callahan running with his tail between his legs, pushing fledglings like you in the path of the SI. We think the bastard knew what was coming, and he set us up. Not just us, some of our brothers and sisters who got hit had some of the lowest profiles in the city's lit population. The moral of the story, Callahan is an opportunistic motherfucker, and even if his thickest followers suggest he's going to sell me out, then that's what he's going to do, as sure as the sun rises. He pauses for a moment. You see him reach a decision. You said something about Langley having an offer for me. It might be your fault, in part, that I'm at this juncture, but now it's going to be as good a time as any to listen to what she has to say. I don't think that's wise, T. Well, what would you have me do then? You said it yourself. It's all this fledgling's fault. They brought this on us, so let's use them as a bargaining chip. Callahan wants them. Langley needs them. They're valuable. What the fuck, Mia? No, you're wrong. I'm just a pawn. That's why Sophie sent me here. Plausible deniability and all that. I'm expendable. The realization that you just summarized the entirety of the last 2 weeks or so hits you hard. Or if there was a moment to be honest with yourself, it's now. Fuck. The man puts his hand on Mia's shoulder. She calms down a bit. We're afraid, Lamar. But then, what else is new? It's a paradox being who we are. The hunter one night, the hunted another. Matters of the night, slaves to dawn. Oh, matters of the night, slaves to dawn. A duality to everything. Mia, I understand your concern, but I need you to trust me like you did before. This is my call and my responsibility. You can give me shit about it later, like I'm sure you will. Count on it. He smiles, then takes a no bullshit look and points at you. 3 conditions. First, you come pick me up personally and bring me to the meeting spot. Anything goes sideways, it's your ass. Second, Mia's coming with me. No 2 ways about it. 8 eyeballs in this meeting. The 2 of you, the 2 of us, nobody else. And third, the meeting is in public. Downtown, some spot frequented by mortals. We'll see you take us anywhere fishy, we'll check out and fuck you up as a message to Langley. I count on it not coming to that though. You seem likeable enough. The camp hasn't gotten its talent in you yet. Keep it up and maybe you'll come to the same conclusion we did in your own time. I'll repeat your conditions to Sophie. You do that. Best be on your way. Ask for me here when you need me. The bartender knows how to get in touch. Just ask him to put the owner on the line. Mia walks you to the door and accompanies you to your car. Listen, about what I said before? Yeah, what about it? I panicked. That's all that was. It was unfair what I said. If anything, it's my fault. I'm angry with myself and that makes me angry with you. Ah, forget it. See ya. She starts walking back to the bar as you start the engine and head back to Sophie's apartment. Time to give Sophie the good news. She welcomes you as openly as ever, clearly excited to see you and for what news you might bring. Good evening, Lamar. How is your task going? You have something for me, perhaps? I did what you asked. The meeting is set up. I suggest we take advantage of it quickly, though. There's going to be trouble. Trouble? What trouble? Callahan forbade me from meeting talk. Boss Callahan's goons grabbed me yesterday and forced me to meet with him. He was very clear that I cannot be seen talking to talk, or he'll have me killed. I went and did it anyway. I appreciate your dedication. I really do. I'm sorry if you got hurt. Thank you for following through. Well, let's hear it. What did talk agree to? You relayed the Anarch leader's conditions. You were to pick him and Mia up. The meeting should only include the 4 of you, and it should be held in a public place. Those are fair enough, although I do worry about that Mia character. Tell me, do you think she's trustworthy? Talk trusts her. Well, talk trusts her, so we can too, I think. Very well. As for the place, I wonder if they would agree to meeting in Hudson Yards, the vessel. Plenty of tourists visit that place, but if we go there after midnight, she seems to have made up her mind. Yes, bring them there tomorrow night. Look for me near the top level. Will they agree with me in the city? It's Camarilla territory. Won't they be too cautious to come here? They did ask me to pick the spot, did they not? It's public and in the open. They should love it. Pick them up at midnight, then drive to Midtown. Then drive back to Why is my brain just not working? Pick them up at midnight, then drive back to Midtown. That's the plan. I'll be waiting as long as it takes within reason. I'm counting on you, Lamar. The final puzzle piece is about to find its way to its destination. After that, we will get our just reward. You, me, the Camarilla, even the Anarchs. I could kiss you. Yes, you'd like that. You desire it. She must have caught it in your expression. She smiles. A figure of speech, darling. Or at least it is tonight. But a few nights from now, who knows? I'm growing fond of you, and success whets my appetite for these kinds of things. The sexual tension in the room becomes unbearable until it suddenly disappears. Was this another one of Sophie's tricks, or an actual spark of arousal in both of your undead bodies? You certainly felt the blood flow through you for a short moment. The warmth in your groin takes you by surprise. You didn't think you could do that anymore, or did you just imagine it? Use the rest of this night well, Lamar, and rest. We are but a day sleep away from shaking the city awake. Okay. We could go and start one of these, but I don't think it's worthwhile because they don't lead to anything really. Let's go for the Holy Man. Approaching the cathedral on the street makes you nervous. You've been here twice, and twice something bad has happened, or almost happened. As in both cases, you ran away. Benoit suggested it's time to stop running and experience faith head-on. Perhaps he's right. Maybe it is cowardly to take refuge in rationalizations when you know what you felt. The holiness of the priest and your own damnation. Walking towards the doors of the cathedral, you glance at the bench where you sat when you first met Benoit. He's waiting for you, sitting and contemplating the cathedral's Gothic architecture. I wasn't certain I'd even wanted to talk to you after last time. I understand. I'm happy you chose to come. Benoit looks different than before, intense, certain. You've had some time to think about what we spoke of before. I want to learn more about Cain. About where we all came from. All in good time. I have something different in mind for tonight, as you surely remember. Let's go see Father Anthony. It's best not talking to the cathedral, so I arranged for us to see him at his home. I have a car nearby. This better be... Oh, that's a good idea. The cathedral has become too exposed. That's what I thought. Some things are best done with privacy. Follow Benoit as he walks down the street until you come to his car. A surprisingly pedestrian family sedan. The essence of the masquerade is inconspicuousness. Is inconspicuous. The essence of the masquerade is inconspicuousness. Nobody expects a vampire to drive a car like this. Benoit drives north towards Queens. During these moments, you feel almost anonymous. Just another speck of dust in a vast machine where every action influences the whole in tiny ways. One thing you've learned about the kindred is that they are not lacking in self-regard. The prince of a Camarilla city is said to rule the domain, yet how much they really affect mortal affairs. If you ask a vampire, they'll say a lot. Perhaps that's what made Benoit turn inward. The futility of finding meaning in a secret, predatory existence. Benoit stops in front of a red brick row house, a little run-down, but probably not cheap. Benoit notes your interest. Father Anthony comes from an old New York family. He inherited the house. When I first met him, I was suspicious, so I checked up on him. Despite the way he keeps putting you in dangerous situations, kindred paranoia seems to come naturally to Benoit. Perhaps that's something you can learn from him. I want to see if I can save... settings. Control... Yeah, okay. I wanted to see if I could save in another slot. Load. Can I? Oh, I can't right and click and copy or anything. Isn't this a masquerade breach? I suppose, but we make ghouls all the time. We hunt. The masquerade is threatened regularly with much worse than this. You follow Benoit to the stairs, looking around for any signs of an ambush. As you get to the door, the first signs of trepidation hit you. The discomfort, the pain that'll follow once you're inside. It feels like a physical thing, a burning sensation under your skin, in your blood. You look to see how Benoit is taking it. He's smiling, eyes closed for a second before knocking on the door, almost as if he's enjoying the sensation. Door opens and you see Father Anthony's kindly face. Your body feels as if it's in a vice. You haven't really been bothered by hot or cold since you were embraced, but now feels like the surface of your skin is overwhelmed with sensation. The fear and terror are paralyzing. Yes, you barely hear Benoit's whisper. Come in, you two. I might not know much, but I know enough not to do this on the porch. You force yourself to follow Father Anthony into the apartment. I'm getting messages. Despite the splitting headache and rising panic, it's hard to take in your surroundings. Everything seems to vibrate, seeking to engulf you. Framed portraits on a mantelpiece. A cross on the wall, a living room with lots of books, many of them old. I'm not sure I can offer you anything. You don't drink tea, I suppose. No, we don't. Is there salvation for our kind? There is salvation for everyone. God's grace is infinite. We just have to find you a way there. Please, Father, you know this is difficult for us. You'll forgive me if I don't waste time. Father Anthony looks pained, whether because of the rudeness or out of sympathy for your condition. You can't tell. He motions for you to sit down, but you and Benoit are both too agitated to do so. You feel trapped like a moth being smeared against a burning light bulb. It's hard to look at Father Anthony, but you can't look at anything else either. Benoit is starting to look increasingly unhinged. His eyes look as if he's seeing into some divine beyond just outside the grasp of your senses. Now's the time, my friend. You have to decide if you're ready for salvation. Prove your faith by embracing the Father and let his radiance envelop you. Yes, I'm ready. Benoit smiles cruelly as you fall to your knees in front of Father Anthony. Startled, Father Anthony takes a step back. Benoit, what are you doing? Father, it's time to be redeemed for both of us. Benoit falls to his knees next to you, lifting his face in full embrace of the holy agony. This is not right, Benoit. Everyone has a chance for salvation. I understand there's something in God's presence that burns you, but you can work through it. Please, Benoit, there are many paths to salvation, and we'll find yours. I won't hurt you and your friend. Benoit moans in pain, stricken with grief and disbelief at Father Anthony's refusal. Please, Father, they don't even believe, not truly. Father Anthony looks at you and seems to waver. Even his belief in salvation has limits. Kill the father. I mean, I suppose that would sort out the masquerade thing, but there were literally vampire hunters coming to speak to him. So, if, oh yeah. I want to try and save more in a different slot, and it's really annoying me. I can't right-hand click. Can't middle click. I can literally just save over my game. No, I was trying to drag it down to see if I could drag it down. Let's just try and kill him. Despite his kind nature, Father Anthony is a grave threat to the masquerade. You must kill him for the good of all your kind. As Father Anthony hesitates and Benoit grovels on the floor, you take the nearby candlestick. Marshalling all of your willpower, you lunge forward and hit the side of Father Anthony's head. You stagger to the side as your undead body convulses in pain. Father Anthony steadies himself on a bookshelf, blood trickling from a wound in his temple. He's an old man, but not a defenseless one, his convictions of mercy and grace hiding a sharp-minded for action. No! You both glance at Benoit, who doesn't seem to comprehend what's happening. Taking advantage of your distraction, Father Anthony takes a crucifix from the wall and pushes it towards your face. He doesn't seem sure whether this works in reality as well as in the movies, but you feel the burning caused by his conviction all the same. A cross in the hands of a normal man would do nothing, but with Father Anthony it's different. In ordinary circumstances, you could kill Father Anthony with little to no effort. No matter how strong his mind physically, he's an old man. Now you can barely look at him. Your head is pounding, it feels as if the skin in your face is burning, you have trouble standing. Your cheeks are wet from crying, your face stained with the blood that has come to replace tears. There is no victory for you here. Give in to the panic inside you, self-preservation winning over any conception of victory through violence. Benoit tries to grab your ankle as you run to the door, swing it open, and rush into the cool night. You're safe, but the implications of your experience are troubling. What does this mean? Whether practical or spiritual? It feels like you have to think about this for a long time. You're free to return to your haven, and there is a distinct temptation to keep the events of the night to yourself. Yet these events cannot be good for the masquerade. Go to Sophie. You make way to Sophie's apartment, seeking comfort in the anonymity of the crowds in the New York sidewalks. Some are coming from a late shift at work, others are going out. You nod to the doorman and slip into Sophie's building. Go up and knock on her door. Sophie opens the door in the middle of a phone call. She motions you to come in and she mumbles assent to the phone. She could be talking about earth-shattering secrets or an acquisition from an art gallery. Following Sophie's cue, you sit down in the living room. A few moments later, Sophie ends her call and sits down opposite you, regarding you with her usual mix of paternalism and disdain. You appear shaken up. It's not a good look to cultivate in the world of the kindred. Tell her that both must be punished. Your child Benoit has been meeting a priest, Father Anthony. It's a masquerade breach. They must be punished. Benoit? He was amusing for a while. It sounds like I should have kept tabs on him. This is sad, of course. My child and a man of faith. I'll talk with Kadir and make sure neither of these unfortunates endanger us. Now you should leave. Sensing that Sophie is in a strange mood, you discreetly leave the apartment. As a vampire, you're supposed to protect the masquerade, and that's what you did. You did the right thing. Yet still, it doesn't feel like you did. So, last time I did that, I only told her about Benoit. Same course of action, she killed him. But I don't think she killed the priest. You wake up. This is not your haven. It's a cramped space. You try to move your arms and find that they are tied to your body. You can barely bend your legs. When you try to stretch your neck, you hit a cold ceiling. You can't quite believe it, but this is a coffin, or something close enough to it. It vibrates slightly, but you can't hear any sounds coming from outside. It's entirely dark. Auspex, sharpen your senses. You focus and divert your blood to boost your senses. You begin to deduce some time has come for you to meet your coterie and begin the grand finale. Okay. The vibration, you focus and divert your blood to boost your senses. You begin to deduce some details. The vibrations mean you're in some kind of transport, maybe a car. You can just hear the suggestion of an engine's hum. The cold interior is metal for sure. More sound that you're trying to focus on. More sounds that you try to focus on. A male voice, indistinct. The crackle of a radio, the brakes of the car, an impact. The container jostles about. The car door opens violently. You hear a gun being cocked, a panicked scream. Operation Compromise, engaging blank bodies. A deafening shot rings in your ears. Dazed, you return your senses to their normal levels. The ringing continues. The lid comes off. What the? We found you. Achievement unlocked. Beast mode. Ooh, is this because I'm all bloody? Oh, it's because Tamika's rescued me. Do we have them? Oh, yeah, buddy. Come on, get up. We've got to get going. Seeing their faces is surprising, even more so in these circumstances. However, you realise the immediate danger and follow your companions out of the car and down a street in North Bronx. The van has crashed into another car. A familiar face, that of Kaiser's ghoul, Jackie, stumbles out of the wrecked sedan and slinks away into the darkness before you can call after him. The three of you jog away toward the line of trees and take shelter under some branches. Just as you hear a chopper approaching, its searchlight illuminates the wrecked van and moves towards you. I love how beautiful this is. Hide now. You see as Tamika literally goes underground, melding with the earth beneath her feet as if she were being swallowed up. You look to Agathon, who seems to be fiddling with a pocket mirror. He breaks it and suddenly disappears from sight. You're left alone with just seconds to make your move before the spotlight finds you. Celerity, dash deeper apart. You take off before the light can reach you. In just a single dash, you find a small overgrown mound beneath an old tree. You realise you didn't have to run that far. The searchlight passes through where you were standing just seconds ago, but doesn't actually reach much further into the park. The helicopter flies on, its searchlight frantically moving through the vicinity as your companions once again appear in your proximity. Close call. You have to get out of here before the SI puts boots on the ground. Okay, tell me what's going on. Agathon, fill them in while we walk. Follow me. The Second Inquisition, they raided your haven, immobilized you, and were planning on taking you upstate to a secure facility for further examination, I'm guessing. Kaiser let me know that you were in trouble. What about Sophie? Is she safe? If they hit my haven, then what about Sophie? Is she safe? I spoke with the High Regent last night, and she'd have probably mentioned it if something happened to your patron. There's our ride. Come on, stay low. The SI might still be around. Kaiser's familiar car stops nearby, and the black door opens. Your allies usher you inside and join you. Being inside this mobile fortress never felt like a relief until now. Hey, fledgling. Miss me? Not really, but I'm glad you're here. Well, I'm not overly fond of breaking licks out of covert SI transport, so I consider this an investment. That was a civilian transport. No convoy, nothing. I expected more resistance. What, you wanted more to sharpen those claws of yours on? Don't worry, that might still happen. You might even regret it. Things are afoot, as the adage goes. Anyway, listen up. Lamar, you're here now. Only because I told your buddies that you were neck deep in shit. That van you were in, a one-way ticket to Hertzville and Pennsylvania. I broke you out as a favour. Now you owe me big. Why didn't I wake up earlier? I'm told I was picked up 2 nights ago. Why didn't I wake up earlier? The Inquisition aren't done. They broke into your place in the middle of the day and staked you as soon as they saw you. Bam, paralysed. Brought you to the cloisters and examined you a bit. If you're walking funny, that's why. Lucky for you, I had an inside man loosen the stake a bit before they packed you in. Wait, you have an inside man within the Second Inquisition? Got fair blocking your pretty ears stray? Yeah, I have somebody on the inside. As much as I'd like it to be on the case, I'm probably not the only one. As much as I'd like it to be the case. I have a good idea of why the SI hate you, Lamar. Not that there aren't tons of good reasons for it. It might have been one of these, for instance. The screens in Kaiser's car flicker, and each of them now shows a short, looped clip. It's you, getting into a fight, feeding, using one of your powers. You haven't exactly kept a low profile, fledgling. I get it, you're new to this. You didn't know better, yada yada yada. The fact is, the SI has tons of this stuff. Security camera footage, YouTube videos posted by onlookers, social media posts from victims. You name it. Like I said though, I don't think any one of these did you in. Slip-ups happen. The reason I need you walking and talking, Lamar, is to test a hypothesis of mine. For that, I need you to finish what you were tasked to do. So first things first, here. Hand you a phone, the number has already been dialed. You hear the tone, somebody picks up. Who is this? It's me, Sophie. Lamar, are you okay? They're fine and dandy. Kaiser, what are you doing on this line? What do you think? It's my phone your protege is using. So keep it snappy. Operating a secure network ain't cheap. Come on, Lamar, spit it out. I got captured by the Second Inquisition, but I'm fine now. SI? That's what I feared. Listen, the plan. We need to do it tonight. If the Inquisition is involved and you broke out, they'll be looking for you, so we can't meet in public. I have a place in mind, but Kaiser, are you still listening? Would I tell you if I wasn't? Lamar, call this number from where you visited before last we spoke. I'll come pick you up. He hangs up. And that's that. What is it that you've gotten yourself into? I'm more interested in what our next move is. The next move is keeping our asses seated in this luxury vehicle while our mutual acquaintance continues with their night. If my intel is worth a damn, your next step, Lamar, is right about here. The car comes to a stop and the door opens. Outside you see the street leading to Salt and Stripes, Talks Pool Pub. Well, you need me to kick you out? What about Tamika and Agathon? What about them? They're staying right where they are, and we're going to have a little chat. After we're done, I'm sure they'll find their way back to their havens just fine. The clock is ticking. I think I know what Sophie wants to do tonight, and if I'm right, tonight's the last chance you've got. If you want to say bye to your buddies before you go, it's fine by me, but that schedule of yours is pretty hectic, so you better do it now and scram. Thank you, companions, for your help. You thank both of your companions for their assistance. Without them, you wouldn't be here now. Kaiser makes a gagging gesture and urges you to step out of the car. You turn around and make your way to the bar. The door closes behind you and Kaiser's limo starts moving again. You hope your companions won't have to pay too high a price for helping you. The Swords and Stripes is pretty much abandoned tonight, with only the bartender and one bleary-eyed local watching an old Bogart movie on the bar's screen. Oh, Bogart. Too much Harry Potter, I swear. You have to use the phone and call Sophie first. Yes? I'm here, are you on your way? Yes, we'll be there in about 15 minutes. Notify Talk if he's not there. We need to talk soon and move quickly. He hangs up. You tell the bartender to notify Talk, just like the Anarch leader mentioned you should. The man makes a short call. You only hear somebody picking up. No words exchanged. The owner's on his way right now. Can I get you anything while you're waiting? No thank you. Bartender nods politely and gets back to his business. Talk comes in some 10 minutes later without Mia. He tips his hat to you, puts a hand on the blurry-eyed patron's shoulder, and says something to him under his breath. They both laugh. Marty, how's the night going? Quiet, sir. Just how you like it, huh? Well, Lamar, I believe you wanted me here for a reason. Let's hear it. You're about to tell him what brought you here when the doors of the bar open and Sophie walks in, all splendor and charisma. The patron's eyes are now glued to her, and so are the bartender's. Talk isn't happy with the sight. Well, this isn't what we agreed on. Lamar, care to explain? Talk, meet Sophie. We had to improvise. Things got complicated, we had to improvise. Pleasure to make your acquaintance. I believe Lamar already told you why I'm here. Not in any detail, and the circumstances of our meeting were supposed to be different. So much longer. Tell me why I shouldn't ask you to leave and kick out your protege while I'm at it. You will like what I have to say. Yeah, I've heard that line 100 times, but 99 of those ended with someone getting hurt, and that's not something I'm in the mood for tonight. We are wasting time. There is a unique opportunity we should take advantage of, and we only have an hour or so to discuss it before it will be time to act. My driver is waiting outside. Wait a goddamn minute. First of all, I'm not going anywhere without Mia. That was the deal. Second, it's Lamar who was supposed to do the driving, not your servant. Both serve me, so really it's a little difference. The circumstances changed and we had to adapt. Don't be stubborn. Foolishness does not suit you. I have a secure spot in mind where we can talk. I'll stop you right there. Talk is seething, but he's keeping a lid on his anger. His voice barely changes. My conditions were clear. The way I hear it, you want to break each one of them. I see no reason at all to agree to any of this. I believe I will be staying put tonight. You have places to be, yes? Talk, you're throwing away the only chance you have at challenging Callahan. Don't be a fool. The lid comes off. Call me a fool one more time, woman, and that's not the only thing I'm going to be throwing. Talk. Listen to Sophie. You can't afford to miss this opportunity. Callahan has to be stopped. I did not ask for your opinion, fledgling. If death stairs could actually kill, you'd be decapitated by his. Sophie smiles. Isn't that just typical? You're all for democracy and the rule of the many, but as long as they vote your way. Dissenting voices are silenced. You're no better than Callahan. Fuck this. Talk takes a bottle off the counter and breaks it over the bar. With a jagged piece of glass in his hand, he points at Sophie. You two have precisely until the count of 5 to get out of here before I cut you into little pieces. 1. You wouldn't dare. Try me. 2. Shots break the front windows and a flashbang goes off in the room, changing the bar into a scene of white light and bringing noise. You feel something tugging at your back on a throne behind the bar. More shots ring out, bottles break, the TV shatters into pieces, the wood bar splinters. Your sight comes back, but you think you've gone deaf because suddenly the room's silent. You see Talk beside you and Marty, the bartender, bleeding out on the floor. You look over the bar. Sophie is standing there, her dress partially tattered, a visible hole in her leg. She is like the heart of a supernova, entrancing, unavoidable, beautiful and terrifying. In front of her are 8 operatives looking like a private military force, just standing there paralysed by Sophie's magnificence. Talk, you still there? Yeah. Would you kindly show our guests some hospitality? Sure thing. The Anarch is gone in the blink of an eye, and he reappears next to one of the soldiers. The armour-clad operative's head disappears in a puff of blood and bone. The same thing happens to the second, the third. You hear the radios go off on the other soldiers, a panicked voice pleading them to wake up. The fourth head pops the fifth. They finally realise what's happening, but it's too late. The 6th man is beheaded by what you now see is just Talk's bare-fisted punch. Talk stops by the 7th man, rips something off his neck and bites down. Sophie walks over to the last man and has him kneel in front of her before biting as well. On your right, a man in full body armour emerges from the back door raising his assault rifle. What the fuck? Celerity, disarm him. With a rush of speed, you grab hold of the soldier's gun. He's too surprised to hold on to it. You turn it on him and shout the first thing that comes to your mind. On the ground now. A combat knife crashes through the soldier's visor and into his skull. You turn around, Talk is grinning. He mouths something under his breath. You can hear the exact words. Still got it. Langley. Sophie wipes her mouth of blood and looks at him. That meeting's still an item? Yes. I'll take it. Splendid. Torque walks behind the bar and checks on the bartender. You see the Anarch open his wrist and feed blood to the wounded man. Drink up, Marty, it'll make you feel better. Get the hell out of here and wait for Mia. She's coming and she'll know what to do. Torque? Yeah, coming. Take the back door. Lamar, come on. You slink back into an alley behind the bar, leaving 10 bodies and 1 grievously wounded ghoul behind. Nobody stops you from circling around the block and finding your way to Sophie's car. Gregory drives away casually as if this was just another late-night drive and not the crowning of a desperate, complicated evening. The sense of irony is just overwhelming. The place where Sophie brought Torque turns out to be the very same apartment in which you were embraced. The way she explains it, the vampire who owned it left the city a few years ago and gave away spare keys to a few trusted compatriots. It's been used sporadically since. Fancy. You like it? It always felt too modern for my tastes, but what's important is that it's secure. As long as nobody followed your car here or the fledgling, trouble follows this one wherever they go. Even if that's the case, I have very little time to conduct our business here anyway. And we'll be leaving soon, I hope. So let's begin. Stay silent. Look at Sophie, excited. Finally, you will learn what it is that you've been working towards for more than a week. What it is that Kaiser wanted you to participate in. I have it on good authority that Boss Callahan is bloodbound to Prince Panhard. Torque sucks in hair loudly. That's an accusation and a half there, Langley. Got proof? No, but we're about right away from getting it. What is that supposed to mean? Lamar, the address that I procured from Kaiser was the meeting spot for Panhards and the Baron's regular sharing of blood and other bodily fluids, if the rumours are true. Wait, Kaiser knew about this? Is there anything that insufferable clump of dead skin doesn't know in this city? He knows things, but only shares them if you pay. Neither the Prince nor Callahan can touch him. He's too useful. So Kaiser knows you wanted the address. You aren't afraid Kaiser will betray you? Kaiser said saving was in his interest. Kaiser said something about having plans for me, that he wanted me to make this meeting happen. That can't be good, right? That's an interesting point. I think Kaiser might be as interested in shaking up the status quo as we are. A chaotic landscape makes for a great market for him, unlike a static one. I don't like playing into that creep's hands, but at least now I know what I'm doing. I know that I'm doing it, the devil you know, and all that. What was the address he gave you? They meet regularly on Ellis Island. In fact, their next scheduled meeting starts in just half an hour. Hot damn, I'm guessing you want to crash the meeting. Why? So you can see the proof for yourself, so that I can make sure too, and so that I have an extra pair of eyes for Panhard to consider when I present her with my ultimatum. The Prince must abandon her seat and leave New York City. She can go wherever she pleases, but if she stays, the entire court will know, and the next Prince might not look favourably upon her past. Dealing with Anart, especially so closely, is a punishable offence in the Camarilla, as I'm sure you've heard. So I did. Torque strokes his beard and looks intently at Sophie. What exactly are you trying to accomplish here? Say you remove Panhard, and I even remove Callahan, then what? Torque, did you ever wonder why Callahan is keeping you in check? Because I wondered why the Prince condemns Anarchs during her visits to Elysium, but doesn't allow the Ivory Tower to challenge you. She or they have engineered the status quo not for the good of their sects, but for private gain. They keep us all in line because it lets them hold on to power that much longer. And your goal is what? Make this Cold War turn hot? Not a great plan. Your cammies will get your butts kicked out of NYC in no time. If your anarchs manage to organise, which I doubt you will, at any rate, it's a risk I'm willing to take. I don't stand alone in this. This entire operation has been years in the making. Torque, I'm offering you a chance to square things with Callahan and level the playing field. If we get rid of these two, we can start on equal footing at the next stage of this dance macabre. Wait, isn't this copying the same status quo you're hoping to break? Just another Camarilla Anarch agreement to replace the current one? Well, for one, I don't expect to sleep with Torque to seal the deal. Heh, fair enough. Also, if I understand your intention, this is just an alliance of convenience, a ceasefire for a common benefit, not a lasting peace treaty. Did I get that right? Exactly. So you see, Lamar, it's nothing like the current arrangement. It's quite the opposite, wiping the slate clean. You know, after all those years spent in Callahan's shadow and taking part in all the kindred dick measuring contests, I should expect a ruse, some ploy to kill me in and out of the way place. That's our inherent paranoia talking, my gut tells me it's time to get this show started. I do hope you have a boat nearby, Langley. Sophie smiles mischievously. Of course I do. It's waiting for us by the pier. Lead the way then. Moonlight's burning. The three of you leave the apartment and walk toward the pier. Nobody seems to be following you. You get on a small patrol boat and double time it through the Hudson's cold, dark waters. Out of all the places in NYC where the Prince and the Baron could meet, and it's Ellis Island, a landmark with a dark past, a museum on one hand, a dilapidated piece of history on the other. You leave the boat and make your way to the southern part of the island, paying no heed to the renovated tourist attractions on the northern side. You expect some resistance, a night guard, a helicopter flying overhead, or maybe an NYPD patrol boat. Nothing. The island seems completely deserted. It's clear this sets Sophie on edge. She's moving as quietly and subtly as ever, but you can see that she's eager to reach the particular house in her intel pointed out. You can see there's a light in the window. Torque is following suit, grimly determined, flashing his piercing gaze all over, still clearly uncertain that this isn't some kind of con. Finally, you see it, light coming from a window in one of the buildings at the edge of the island. The three of you slowly creep closer to the building and take a look inside the window. There it is, Callahan kneeling in front of the Prince, sucking on Panhard's wrist, both fully clothed, a small blessing. Torque makes his move, and before Sophie can stop him, he bursts through the building's doors. It all happens very quickly. Torque grabs Callahan by the shoulders and throws him through the still open door. Callahan hits the ground hard. Torque appears on top of him and starts punching. You fucker, you piece of shit. Stop. The Prince's voice takes hold for just long enough to make Torque relent, which the Baron uses to the fullest. He shoves Torque off of him and tries to bite down. Prince, call off your lapdog. Langley, what is the meaning of this? The two Anarchs break apart, both wounded, but neither is quite done yet. They look at one another with pure hatred. Kill the bitch, Helene, but leave the fledgling to me. Right after I deal with this shit stain, I'm gonna... A shrill, unpleasant laugh fills the air. You know who it belongs to. So entertaining. Truly, it feels almost a shame to break up the spectacle, but alas. Thomas? Who the fuck is this joker? Ah yes, I don't think we've met, though I did hear a lot about you, Mr. Torque. My name is Thomas Arturo, and Callahan uses this moment of uncertainty to strike. He's still too slow for Torque, who throws the boss into the lawn where the two exchange blows once again. Ahem. Helene, if you'd be so kind as to ask your friend not to hurt our guest too much. Callahan, don't kill him. This time Callahan comes out on top and grabs Torque in an iron hold. Your companion struggles, but can't quite break away. I will not be denied, Helene, not this time. You'll do as I command. And she will do as I command her, Douglas, old boy. What? Like I was saying before, I was so rudely interrupted. I feel like I need to break up this little spectacle. It's been going on for much too long. You think you're so smart, Langley, you and your clique. Figured out that there was something fishy going on all on your own, but you were always working with just a piece of the puzzle. Wasn't she, Lamar? Sophie looks at you, shocked and disappointed. What am I talking about, you ask? You fledgling. You don't know, how could you? Only I knew, and your sire, of course. They're the ones who agreed to embrace you after some negotiations. You hear a scream and a curse. It's Callahan, whose arm has been nearly ripped off his body. Torque breaks out of the Baron's grasp but doesn't continue the attack. Instead, he's at the edge of the water in the blink of an eye and disappears into the Hudson. The only trace left of him is his fedora. Leave him. Why can't you just trust the actors to play their roles? No matter, a problem for another night. He'll reach his allies. He'll tell everyone of this. Let him, and why not? Nobody will believe him. Besides, his nights are numbered now, that he's in the SI's sights. Sophie looks at you. How could you, Lamar? I saved you. Arturo suddenly appears next to her and slaps her in the face. Did you hear anything I said, Langley? Nothing? It's not them, it's me. Me! Thomas, what? No, shut up. I'm talking now. You've played this game all wrong. You were playing on one board, but you're just a pawn on another bigger board, see? You never realize the people on the top simply flip the chessboard over and punch you in the face whenever they don't like how the game is going. He motions to the remaining kindred. But the thing is, you weren't even adept at playing the game you knew. Lamar, just another pawn placed on the board by my associate. You thought they were your piece since you took them in, but who gave you that idea? Return to the night where you were judged by Prince Panhard. The woman in red, Sophie, someone speaking to her, a man in glasses, the man standing before you now. This is cruel, we know what's going to happen. If only someone would speak up for the poor child, they could be a useful tool for the Camarilla. Terror creeps onto Sophie's face. Of course, those are not the words you heard, were they? No, we're already grasping for some opportunity to further your scheme. Put the bait out and you took it, hook, line and sinker. After that it was only a matter of time before you started using Lamar as your errand boy. No one is quite as easy to track and monitor as a naive fledgling who's just learning the ropes. What is it you want, Thomas? What do I want? Oh boy, the answer is so simple, but so hard to put into words. Unstable stability. Cutting-edge tales of thrills and intrigue that push it to the limit, and then return you to the tried and tested status quo gently, infallibly. A system full of distractingly moving parts which simulate conflicts so convincingly that its users never feel a need to direct their energy towards upsetting the system. Achieving the eternal through the disposable. Building a city that's like a ship of Theseus, constantly changing its parts, yet always maintaining the same purpose, serving the same goal at all times. A large-scale infrastructure that has something like an exhaust system for the spirit. Something that disperses the toxicity around instead of concentrating it in a single place. None of what you're saying makes the slightest bit of sense. Arturo is momentarily stopped in his tracks. He stares into the sky for a few seconds before a side grin appears on his face. Spoken like someone who's never really had what it takes to make it in the big leagues. With a theatrical snap of his fingers, he gives his last sentence a sense of finality. Something's changed in the air. A woman's shape slinks behind Sophie's back. Goodbye, Sophie. A person appears behind Sophie. Can't believe your eyes. It's Adelaide Davis, holding garden shears in her hands. You take off and rush towards Sophie. You only take a few steps before a figure blinks right next to you and pushes you away. Arturo. Oh, this is sad. Hear the shears snip. Sophie's red hair conceals her face as her head falls, separated from her shoulders. Silence. Arturo's unpleasant laughter erupts right next to you. Oh, Lamar, your career is moving at a breakneck pace. Moving up and up and up. Let me congratulate you on your promotion. What do you want from me? I was about to get to that. Helene, feel free to leave us and take the Baron with you. Thomas, I don't think you should. Shush, you're just being jealous, Adelaide. Escort the prince and dear old Douglas, please. Sure thing, darling. You are left alone next to Sophie's body. You try not to look, but it's hard to ignore her lithe frame decomposing in front of your eyes. Her red dress is like a cloth thrown over a mummified corpse. Congratulations, you won this little game. You set out on a suicide mission and successfully brought down the power-hungry wannabe tyrant, even if it probably wasn't the way you imagined it. Now you're free to enjoy paradise again, life after death, immortality, eternal youth. What they don't tell you is, of course, living in paradise is inherently sinful. When not everyone can partake, but you have time to learn how to live with sin, don't you? He takes a melancholic look at the city skyline surrounding him, the Statue of Liberty and the lights of Manhattan shimmering in the distance. You know, New York taught me to believe in fate. My own life began right here, and it began with utter despair. My first instinct was to drown myself in books and keep reading and reading until literature gave me the piece of wisdom I needed to go on. Personally, I found reading a silly hobby in retrospect. I always had this minuscule hope that the next sentence I'd read could finally bring me salvation, but it never did. It only gave me fuel for this elevated, righteous, intellectual suffering. But the more I read, the easier it was for me to boil every paragraph down to a power relationship. The characters' influence over each other, the writer trying to impress the reader, etc. The strings everyone pulls started to look like strands that weave into the fabric of fate, and once I saw its beauty, I got teary-eyed. My architect instincts kicked into overdrive. I didn't have to submit to fate. All I had to do was cooperate with it and wait for my time to shine, give it my input wherever needed, until it trusted me to do more. Thomas steps over what's left of Sophie's body, wiping his glasses with an elegant cloth from his pocket. And it did. Fate let me look after this city. With my architect's tools, I started quietly shaping the streets and corridors, while Kaiser and his ilk shaped the information flow. And among my many tools this process gave me, one of them was a way to reliably come up with useful agents like you. The methods I used were crude at times, but the route was there. All you had to do was follow it. Some people write rulebook passages, the others plan city arteries. In the end, the effect is the same. Someone always follows. He puts on the glasses and gives you a long, hard look. I've grown fond of you. You've done so well. Even when that idiot Callahan tipped off the Inquisition, you still escaped. I like that kind of resourcefulness. I could use that kind of resourcefulness. He uncovers his wrist. So take my blood, just enough so we can start off on the right foot as a sign of good faith. A sign that you're ready to play in the big leagues. Ready to behold the sights I've prepared for you. What do you say, Lamar? And then it ends. So, Arturo is clearly a Malkavian. Right? He's got to be. Adelaide, it was Adelaide, clearly is a Malkavian. So if she's his child, then she is definitely a Malkavian. Then he is definitely a Malkavian even. So this whole, I want the power struggle to be within my hands so I can choose sort of how it goes, but still have things return to me being in charge, makes sense, but is also a little bit mad, which is probably why a Malkavian is doing it. Clearly what's happened is he's decided that Sophie has figured out what's going on, or it has an inkling of what's going on. So he's orchestrated you being created, and orchestrated her picking you up so that he could track her movements and find out how she was going about the things she was doing. So obviously everywhere you've gone, he's been getting intel on whatever you're doing, so that he could find out when she was basically going to hit the Prince and Callahan, so that she could find out this info. Which is why he has basically lured her here to Ellis Island and killed her because she knew too much. But I don't know if he had to kill her. He could have bloodbound her to either himself or Panhard, and still had her sort of working for them. But I guess it's easier to just fuck her up and that's it. Even if there will be questions and stuff, vampires die all the time, and if there's SI agents running around, there's a very easy excuse, and that excuse is, well, SI must have caught up with her. If they catch up with Torque and kill Torque, then there's no one who knows the dirty little secret of the Prince and Callahan. Although, if Torque got back and anyone who was loyal to him believed any of what he was saying, then it's going to be investigated again, and they're going to have to go through this same sort of loop again to prove that the Prince and the Baron aren't doing stuff they shouldn't be. But it's a good game. I really enjoyed it. It's a good storyline. There's some good intrigue in it. There's some good there's some very cool characters. I suggest you play it because there's still things that, options you might have chosen differently. There's two characters that we didn't see, which was the Nosferatu and the Malkavian, and they're both really good characters. I'm so glad the first time I played it through, I chose those two because it was really good, really fun. But the same thing happens basically when you get to Kaiser's car. You're going it alone with Sophie and Torque, because Kaiser decides that he doesn't want your companions being involved, and it's probably because Kaiser knows a bit more than he's letting on about, and he knows that if your companions go with you, they're going to be killed as just, not the shit on your shoe sort of thing, because no one really gives a damn about them. They're sort of smaller pawns to get you closer to the bigger people in their lives, sort of thing. Like, if you go after the Nos works for the sheriff, so you get on the sheriff's good terms. If you go after the Malkavian, I think the Malkavian's a bit of a stretch, but I think she gets you in contact with a higher up Malkavian. Same with Tamaka. Sophie hopes that you'll see Jezebel from it, and with the Tremere, they're hoping that you're going to see the Tremere Regent and become close to them. So it's all about moving up the ranks. But yeah, it's a good game. I hope you enjoyed it. And whatever you're doing, I hope that it's fantastic or better than you expected and stuff like that. And have a lovely day, evening, weekend, week, whatever you're doing. So yeah, have a good time. Bye.